Welcome everybody to the after show, post show, after the dragon, after the house, whatever the hell we're going to call it. House of the Dragon season 2 has started, and the first episode ended. It was a nice long one. It kind of followed the book. We're going to get into that, and it ended, and we're going to get into that. But we're not going to spoil what's ahead in the book. Now, I am powerless over the chat, but we're not going to spoil anything beyond where this episode is gone in the book, which, quite frankly, is a few paragraphs. So,
yeah, this entire episode was probably, like you said, maybe a page long.
Yes,
maybe a page of the book is what this episode was.
Wow.
So.
Damn. Well,
the source material is kind of light. It's a Cliff Notes version of a history of Westeros.
It is.
How consistent is it generally for like season 1 in terms of how much would be translated per episode?
It depends, because we even started like with the old king and everything, and Viserys being named as heir, which happened, well before Viserys really took over. Mm-hmm. It's tough. I would imagine. I've listened to it recently, but I haven't read it recently. So you're probably talking about the first season was summarizing. I don't know. What do you think, Gary? Like,
it was the question of succession. So it's basically an epilogue into the Dance of the Dragons, which officially started kind of with Lucerys getting eaten. So that's kind of where
we're probably talking
starts.
Like.
Yeah.
Again, I haven't read it in forever. I listened to it though. You're probably talking about 45 pages. I don't know, somewhere around there. Not a novel or anything like that.
No, not at all. And I know that like the corporate critics were complaining about the time jumps. I was totally fine with everything they did in season 1, except for Rhaenys stepping on a bunch of people, which still might make sense at some point. So can't be too critical of that. But
Damon's not a big fan of it either. So
no, apparently not. That was actually a pretty good scene. So we're going to get into breaking down the episode. And so we will be spoiling this episode, but not the book ahead of this episode. But first, let me introduce everybody. We have Ryan Kinnell from RK Outpost. Hello, Ryan.
Hello, Gary. I'm here and I'm ready to talk about a competent show for once. So thank God.
It's so nice to have this while the Acolyte is out. So now we have something to compare. It's kind of like Rings of Power, except worse, probably in a lot of ways. But
well, we were all talking on EFAP movies while we were reacting to the Acolyte, and I think it was Rags who said he was doing his rewatch for House of the Dragon, and it's amazing the stark, no pun intended, contrast between these two shows. But yeah.
Hey, Acolyte only had $180 million, man.
That's almost exactly what House of the Dragon season 1 cost, except we got 10 hours of content instead of 4.
And it looked pretty damn good with dragons flying around, not a bunch of people standing in front of a volume or whatever. Fringy from EFAP and his own channel. How are you, man?
In his own channel. I'm all right. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Last minute edition. So it was nice to have. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Actually, a decent hour for you, apparently. So
yes, it's normal times at the moment.
Good. And then, of course, we have the founder of the Long, MauLer. Hello, MauLer.
Hello. It's wonderful to be back. What was it? 2 years ago we did this?
We did this 2 years ago, and I was on the road for the first one. I was in Arizona. So
I think it came out in August of 2022, right? So just under 2 years. Yeah.
Okay,
just under 2 years. And I saw somebody in the chat say subdued, and I would say that is a good description of this episode. I think what they were trying to do was build something up and not kind of blow their wad in the first episode. I'm not saying I agree with it because I don't. But overall, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was 7 out of 10 as far as an episode. Everything looks great. The sets are freaking. HBO knows what the fuck what they're doing when it comes to making a TV show. It's It was well directed. It was well acted. The pacing was fine. It's just those of us who read the book and know the ending, which we'll get to, I was a little disappointed.
I really want to know how Fringy and MauLer think about how it ended.
Yes.
Because like it's pretty disturbing, right? It's a pretty disturbing sequence, what we see, what happens. But for, again, people that have read the books, I feel like we might feel differently than the general viewing audience does.
So what's funny is I think from the vibe I'm gathering, we might actually sort of line up on overall quality assessment, but for different reasons. Because my take on the episode is there is maybe 2 or 3 scenes where I was like, oh, that was really good. And then the rest were solid with questions. Like there's a couple of things that I need clarified before I could say like whether or not I'm thinking this is solid, good. And then of course, none of this is based on what I thought would happen based on something else I've read. It's simply based on what I know of these characters. And then I have questions on why they've made certain decisions versus other ones. To be nice and vague before we go into it in more detail, I suppose.
I think there was a lot of great, like, different character stuff, and you're seeing kind of how these characters in their new roles are going to change a little bit and how they're going to behave in different alliances that are going to form even within their own alliances. So I really liked a lot of the setup that we got from it.
That's the thing. It was a lot of setup in this episode. It kind of felt like gradually starting to kind of like I don't know if I'd say rearrange, but reintroduce elements from season 1 and kind of give an indication of where things are going, which makes it a bit hard to judge whether or not I think, whatever questions I would have about certain things that happened or decisions characters made. It's like it's kind of incomplete, it's you're laying down the foundations, and so whether or not I feel like the correct choices were made kind of depends on how it progresses from here. But overall, I thought it was a good episode.
Yeah, I didn't hate it.
I really liked the episode a lot.
Yeah.
I just think that I don't know what we're gonna do if we're gonna go through an order, like through.
We're gonna go through an order because
I mean,
it's just a bunch of buildup, right? So again, we're reestablishing some main characters. We're also changing focus.
There was definitely an effort to sort of lay out the map to the audience somewhat. There was about almost 3 scenes that tried to make sure we understand somewhat the logistics of the battle, even though I think a lot of the audience will be lost on that. Even I sometimes struggle with it as someone who's seen all of Game of Thrones like several times and knows this map, like, and knows significant elements. I think they're trying, and I appreciate that. I'm not sure if it would have translated as well as they'd hope, though.
Well, in Game of Thrones, there was this place called the Riverlands, which is pretty effing important and was later on in the books that they completely forgot about towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's like the Iron Fleet.
Just like the Iron Fleet. So there a lot as they're explaining in this MauLer that they were talking about the Riverlands. There's probably the reason they're putting it in the first episode is it's important. It's
they made it clear,
important.
right? It's both in season 1 and this season they refer to getting a toehold in the Riverlands, and it starts with Harrenhal, which that was actually going to be my first question, which is almost a season 1 question. I thought Larys Strong was the Lord of Harrenhal right now.
Technically, he is.
Yes.
Well, he
yes.
There would be a custodian in his absence at King's Landing, but yeah, it does belong to Larys Strong.
So the Strongs / because they'd be the lords of Harrenhal. Would they? I say Strongs. There's only one left, I assume, or for whatever family members I'm not aware of. But they would have influence there somewhat. Are the blacks? They just don't give a shit about that. They're going to go there and try and sort of.
Well, the theory would be Daemon rolls in there with Caraxes, and says, "Hey, fuckers," because of the state of Harrenhal. I don't know if they're going to have like a massive amount of like people ready to fight right there. So the plan would be take Caraxes, take Harrenhal, and hold on to it until you can get some reinforcements surrounding you.
I suppose I'm surprised we haven't had like a moment from Larys discussing the plan for Harrenhal, because is it not just whoever gets there first could have a much more of a I don't know, controlling interest?
It would be a concern. And we can't go too far forward with it, Ryan, which sucks. But Larys is an enigma in this show, as you already know from season 1. Total enigma, even more than Varys was. Because if you're talking about the show Game of Thrones, he became clear what his intent was. Varys was like, I'm for the people.
Yeah.
Which
And then he was
not
for
from the
the
book.
retarded and killed himself.
Yes. As soon as Varys comes down there and talks to Ned, like even in season 1, like when he's being held, you kind of get an understanding of who Varys is.
Yeah.
But for Laura Strong, even in this episode, we saw last season he was working with Alicent, and then he would go to Otto and say, "There's no reason that what I'm doing with Alicent
he's
can also
playing.
benefit
He's
you."
playing everyone.
And then in this episode, we see him talk to Aegon, clearly trying to manipulate him to tell him that obviously Otto doesn't know what he's doing. He's out for his own best interest, blah, blah, blah. He's pitting everyone against each other.
Yep. So
I figure he's just looking to find the best route for himself, which
he is
more Littlefinger than Varys.
What is that?
But it's not quite as simple as, hey, let's just go to Harrenhal, right? Especially for the Greens, because they don't have as many dragons. So
no, yeah, they did make that clear. I just meant a matter of I don't know, just a discussion of what I guess Larys's perspective on, does he care that much? Presumably not. I guess because he's kind of a sole interest in for himself in King's Landing. Does he have like a garrison, a stronghold, a set of family members, anything of a connection to Harrenhal?
He's got the wealth. There's a castellan there. And there is troops. There's people who are loyal to Harrenhal. I can't say more than that.
No, yeah, I get you. Yeah. And this is the thing. This is all I'm just asking questions that don't necessarily. They're not the kind of questions that are like exposing holes. It's more so just digging for information, but only so much as we can get at with the episodes we have.
I could say as a person who read the books, and I'm sure you guys will agree with me in the chat, Ryan, I would love to know the answer because it's not something they really give in the books.
Well, I mean, for example, I really appreciate that Vhagar is almost hostage at King's Landing because the second she leaves, it's vulnerable significantly. I appreciate that. I appreciate the idea that Daemon recognizes, as Otto does, as mostly everyone should, that Vhagar is one of the most controlling interests of the entire war. That one element. It's it's going to be neat it's fun for us, specifically me, Friggy, and anyone who hasn't seen it, because I don't know what's going to happen, but you guys probably do.
That's the 55 megaton freaking nuclear bomb.
But it's tough because, yes, it is your nuke, but your nuke also happens to be your shield.
Yep.
So you can't just go around deploying it randomly or else you'll die. So it makes it tough.
There's no... who makes nukes, Ryan? Raytheon? Fucking...
I don't fucking know.
I don't know.
Probably there's Boeing. With the way their planes are falling out of the sky, might as well be Boeing.
Yeah, there's no Westeros Boeing, Raytheon, or whatever out there. I tried. So we start out at the wall, and this is very specific. And you were wondering about this, Ryan, and I was like, yeah, they couldn't do it on the first episode. They do it in the first scene. We get Cregan Stark. We get Stark music.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
I loved it.
It was cool to hear. I was like, oh, I remember this when I liked it. Yeah.
Well, should have been people. Seriously, the courtyard in Winterfell, I was like, oh. I remember when we used to like this.
Yeah, I love the first scene. I was shocked that they did Winterfell the first scene. And I also question, is that all we're going to see? Like, that can't be all we see. But I think if it is...
I mean, I would hope for a northern plot line, but I don't know, obviously.
Well, there could have been. The thing is, there could have been. And it seems like they passed it up unless he's going to go back, which I don't think.
Yeah, we could definitely see more. So
they've got they've shown us they have all the material. It's like if they only did set all of that in place just for the one scene or two scenes, whatever, we'd be like, well, I could believe that they've got all that ready now so that we may be going back there for whatever reason. Again, more of a season 1 clarification. We would have talked about this in the episode 10 stuff, but it's just clarification before we get here. What's the opinion on Rhaenyra having sent Meleys and Rhaenys to the Gullet as opposed to sending her to Boris Baratheon, considering the shared blood and the impact of having an enormous fucking dragon and the experience of her, at least first? It wouldn't even take that long from what I gather, especially from the map.
So, like, Meleys is like their strongest dragon that they have available to go right there. So if you're talking about actually being able to patrol and protect against, like, be part of this blockade that they're effectively doing, she's going to be a lot more useful there.
Oh, I completely agree. She's number one for that. But
when it comes to the other ones, this is Rhaenyra. It was a bad judgment by Rhaenyra just to send Luke with nothing to offer other than a scroll that says, "Hey, please remember the vow." We saw that was a big mistake for her to do that in the beginning. So it probably wasn't the best judgment.
I suppose the question is one of whether or not it will be reincorporated, I guess. Like, is it going to be something that they address, or does the show recognize that it may have been an error?
A huge error, I would say.
It was a huge error, but like the motivation was she thought that was going to be, she sent her youngest to the son that she thought was in her pocket. So it's supposed to be massive error on her part. She assumed a descendant was just going to be in her pocket because they have lineage with Rainey's. Right. Mm-hmm. So they share blood with Rainey's, and that wasn't the case. The son, and remember, a lot of this is supposed to foreshadow what happens in our supposed main story in A Song of Ice and Fire, and it could be foreshadowing some stuff that happens up in the north. But and
despite the fact that she's reminded time after time in season 1 that when it all comes down to it, it doesn't matter what vows they've said, it doesn't matter any of this. They're not going to bend the knee to a woman when there's an heir, a male heir that's easily like installed there. So I think that all comes back to bite her in the ass.
And for me, it comes back to Mike Ehrmantraut, his half measure speech. Both sides constantly doing half measures only leads to eventually getting both sides to full measures, which is where we're obviously heading.
Where we're at, like even in the book.
I was just saying, I quite enjoyed Otto's moment in this episode of being like, "Yeah, man, if only we had done my whole fucking plan from the beginning. How about that?" And Allison's like, "Shut up."
But at the same time, like, and it's so funny because Otto is so annoyed at Aegon, like, throughout this episode.
Yes.
It's like,
oh, dude, his acting was fucking great.
It's like, he's the reason, like, you are the reason that he is there. But it's what he wanted.
I love his little expressions in all the scenes he's in. Just how much.
Particularly the part where when he's up there talking to the crowd, and he's about to basically tell him, "No, this is how you do it." And then what Aegon say? Like, "Oh, well, we need the small folk.
We need the small folk," and he had to turn around. That was great.
He's like,
"That was great.
Okay, yeah, I'll leave you to it for a little bit."
I liked Aegon in this episode because, it shows you that once he put that sword up, once he puts Blackfire up in front of the crowd and they cheer, he's like, "Oh, being liked by all these people is kind of fucking awesome."
Kind of cool.
Actually, yeah, I actually appreciate. I think they've made him a better character than he was in season 1, and it's not like it's a retcon. There's reason, and we got a decent chunk of dimensions to him, right? Like enjoying time with his friends, messing around, but also putting some effort into caring. I even liked Allison's assessment, which is probably the same as the audience, which is you'll get bored of this, but at least he's given it a shot. Just watching him try to sort of be like, "Yeah, okay, fine, let's have a little look-see." It's almost like he's playing with his subjects as toys, and he's like, "Yeah, we'll let you have your goats, so we'll have some extra money. Sure, why not?" And then just having him explain, like, "You don't know how any of this works." It's like, "Yeah, okay, fine."
How about the big reveal that we all suspected anyway, with Sir Criston Cole?
That was, the way they did it was like kind of shocking or whatever. But yeah, Criston Cole getting down with Allison. I think that is a big,
like, literally going downtown.
Yeah, literally going down on Allison. That is a big thing for Allison's character, because up until this point, despite maybe some mistakes that she's made by sharing a little bit too much with Loras, which ends up in tragedy and all stuff like this, for the most part, she's been fairly principled. She's been fairly principled in everything that's happened. She watched as she stayed and did the right thing, was loyal to her husband, all this stuff, while Rhaenyra fucked off and did whatever she wanted. And Rhaenyra really never got punished for it. Allison always did the right thing, like she was supposed to, like she was taught to do. Rhaenyra never did, yet she gets to be the one that ends up being crowned. This adds something different for Allison, because now she's not married anymore, true, but certainly she shouldn't be doing that with a Kingsguard.
Kingsguard's not supposed to be doing it to her. No.
Right.
Well, yeah, and it looks like they've got the relationship of one more time, and that is it.
I know.
Okay,
yeah. Maybe they just spent one more time going down. And
going downtown. Yeah.
It seems clear that that's going to have serious consequences. The impression I got with Lara Strong, the part with I've replaced, I've handpicked your your servants. It's all good. The impression there is, Sounds like he's getting himself into quite a position of power to get leverage
I felt
over
like
you.
The bathing scene that they had for Alicent was almost entirely to tell us that she is distinctly uncomfortable with her entire staff having been chosen by Larys.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, Larys knows they're fucking 100%. You can tell by the way, like I looked for you before the meeting and they said you were indisposed. And you can also tell Otto fucking knows too.
Yep.
From the look that he gave when they walked in for the meeting.
You guys mentioned that. Yeah, immediately.
Kristen Cole's face probably smells like pussy. That's probably a dead giveaway as well.
It probably does.
Yeah.
You smell like my daughter. Which is
that's an author line, of course. Yes.
Oh no, and it's like subtleties. Remember these things? Like they're in good shows. They're not in bad shows. So when she's in the bad, she dismisses all the handmaidens because they all belong to Larys. And then she's also trying to scrub the Kristen Cole and the
that's the thing, isn't it?
Everything that happens in there as well.
I believe Alicent's it's on the unfortunate sort of representation of her. She is crumbling under the pressure across the entire season. She started out as the golden precious. Everything about her is lovely and nice, and she'll do everything she can. And she's just been corrupted slowly. Do you remember episode 8 is still absolutely goated in my mind from season 1. It's so fucking good. Not just the scene we're all thinking about, but several others. The scene in where Alicent has to silence / kill a handmaiden is so good. You watch her in that whole scene basically realizing, like, I used to be someone who was like this, and now I'm the person who's destroying lives, and I have to protect my family, which I think is another aspect to Alicent, is that she's justified all of it. It's like, no offense to anybody, a person who's trying to do a diet and they're like, I'll just have one thing. It's like, well, I've had the one thing now, so fuck it, I could just have a whole thing. And
that's an addict too.
She's breaching principles left, right, and center because she's like, well, fuck it, everyone's doing it.
And I think she's a bit slow to realize where she's at, like in terms of her moral character. It's always like lagging behind. Her perception of herself is trailing behind what she's actually doing.
Well, and I think it was a great addition for when she's lighting the candles during Luke's funeral and she says his name. As she's talking about all the dead people, Viserys, all this, she says Lucerys Velaryon, and like shows you that she is very remorseful that ended up going down that way.
Yes, but now it's to war. I'm really sorry, my son. My son's dragon ate your son, and
it's interesting because I almost went to bat for like Otto earlier and said like he was right all along, but it's like, well, it is so interesting to watch all of this unfold because in the moment, what he said was shocking. Like, let's just kill everybody. Like she was just like, what the fuck? And it's a matter of experience, right? I was talking to Rags and Freeman when we were rewatching it that Tywin essentially did that, right? When he sacks King's Landing, when the Mad King and everything, like wiping out the line as best as possible. Because Tywin, much like Otto, much like several characters in this world, have the experience to know that this will be the cleanest way to do this. Just trust me, it's always going to end up being worse and worse and worse when there's family members left.
Yes, he's pragmatic in the world of ice and fire. In the rules that are set up in Westeros, Otto is not wrong. You could bitch all he wants about like it's a man's world. Yeah, it's a fucking man's world. It's a patriarchal world. And when two women tried to play soft in it, which is, I've already heard a couple of interviews, which is funny. It just makes things worse in the rules set up for this world. You have dragons flying around, and all these lords, most of them are capitulating to the fact that, like,
they just
I'm scared of these dragons. They're not loyal. They just want to live. You're right.
Yeah, carry on. They've got their own kingdoms with bullshit going on. They don't need this shit.
The small people don't care who's king. They don't care who their ruler is, as long as everything stays status quo. And clearly, nobody in the royal family gives a fuck about the small people. Like, never have. Now, Aegon is trying to make it seem like he does.
Yes,
being smart.
Which could, even whether it's intentional or not, could have a role to play later down the line.
Well, that's the thing with shows like this. I feel like every scene we see must be important for future scenes. I assume they're setting everything up. That's especially episode 1, not just reestablishing, but also telling us things like we got a strong idea of Aegon's changes in this episode. So I assume they're going somewhere.
Yes. So
we can already see he's getting resentful of Otto, not just because he's telling him to be patient and shit like that, but and the scenes you saw in the throne room, because he's got Laris whispering in his ear, trying to put that divide between him and Otto.
And what Laris's his motivations are, we don't know. Like, people who've read the book, we have no fucking idea, like none. So like maybe the show will answer that. It probably will. It's already answered a couple of questions. So we got to see
the scene of right after Kristen Cole is eating her pussy, for her to help him put his white coat, or the white
cloak,
cape cloak back on. It's like, God, these are two people. Kristen Cole went from being a simp for one person to another. He's got a thing for royalty, I guess. But
well, it seems like symbolism, doesn't it? Let me put on your attire that symbolizes your like your oath and your station in this world.
Oath
and the idea that you're honorable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that the same kind of applies to her, right? It was the thing that Rhaenyra said to her in episode 7 in season 1 when she lunged at her with the knife. You know, now they see you as you really are. That's definitely a big concern of hers, keeping up the appearance that she would hope was actually like her moral character, you know. But
when you bring it back to, what is it, episode 4 of season 1, when Rhaenyra and Kristen Cole fuck, like, you see how like delicately he folded that white cloak or whatever and like placed it down, like as he knows he's breaking his vows. Yeah, it's bringing a lot of that back. He don't give a fuck no more.
No, he's gone. He's gone kind of punished mode. And again, like Allison, it's just like, oh, fuck it. I mean, it's broken. So
being rejected by a woman can do that to you.
Some guys, yeah, that's for sure. Especially when you were just basically a commoner and you got risen up to Kingsguard and you kind of blow it on just some dame.
You know, on the note of Aegon, by the way, like the actor and the writing for him, I will say he's climbed a little bit up in terms of just me enjoying him. He was a little, like I said, a little one dimensional in the first season, so I was assuming he's going to get some form of a role that eventually, you know, like Joffrey. I thought we were going to be getting a sort of story like that, but now I'm curious what they're going to do with him exactly. But still, give him more lines that make me very amused, like Otto saying, "Our letters, you know, to the north have gone unanswered," and then it just cuts to it. He goes, "Cunts."
And even though it was short, I really did like the scene in the north that they started out in Winterfell.
Yeah. And
you do see a little bit, obviously, you know, Jacaerys and Cragen Stark are getting along well. I wish we'd have got more. I like the idea that the fact that they mention, and this is for book people, the fact that he mentioned when Jacaerys and Alysanne came up there to visit the wall and their dragons wouldn't cross the line, that was like, I didn't think they'd address that at all, because I really think they fucked all of that up in Game of Thrones. But in the book, when they did go, when the king and queen went to visit the wall, the dragon refused to go past the wall, just kept coming back around when Alysanne was trying to go over the wall. So the implication is that it either senses something out there, or there's magic, something to do with the wall, that the dragons will not go past them.
And it is interesting they put it in the show. Is it separate continuity?
Or maybe the magic gotten to a certain point.
We would say that if they nailed this, it would be so funny just to do the whole, like, we're going to do Game of Thrones again, actually.
Yeah. I mean, they could, you know, do a couple more prequels, and they could, but like we already have a werewood tree in King's Landing. So there's already that nobody mentioned in all of Game of Thrones. Like, hey, there totally used to be a werewood here. Remember that?
I think there's still an apprehension from a lot of studios to the idea of essentially acquiescing to what the audience is pointing out clearly, which is nobody likes this, so do you want to do it again? And nobody would be upset, like with the sequel trilogy, nobody would be upset if you did it again, basically.
You're
Game of Thrones.
Absolutely right, because I think that was one of the lesser splits of fans. You know, that one, Game of Thrones Season 8, I think most people were just like, what was that?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, some people like The Last Jedi. You know, it doesn't seem like basically anybody likes Game of Thrones Season 8.
No.
But one of the problems with Season 8 was you couldn't just remake season 8 and have everything be okay.
No,
you would need to remake like 6 through 8,
at least
at a
half
minimum.
of 6, minimum half of 6, and 7 and 8 for sure.
Yeah, it's just you're admitting that you failed, which is not they don't like to do that.
No, they don't, and they're worried about other contracts and other people. But I don't care. Fuck 'em. But that's going to be our ending, guys, because we're not going to get the book. We're not going to get the book. I'll give you the days counting.
Oh, ye of little faith! You don't think George can pump out 2 books before he dies of diabetes?
Give him a few more days. He's got this.
There's already like, he's going to announce it at the end of this season. No, he's not. No, he's not. Stop. Okay. No, we'll get a piece of a Winds of Winter after he passes, hopefully in a freaking 100 years, but we'll get whatever he's done, and we will not get a finished Winds of Winter and forget Dream of Spring.
I thought the sequence with Jacaerys coming back and talking to Rhaenyra after he came back from the north, realizing Luke was dead, that was a really good scene.
Yeah, it was.
You know what's funny?
Yes, it was.
When it started and I saw this, I was like, oh, this is like objectively sad, for lack of better words. I'm like, this is a sad scene. I'm fine though. Like I get that this is very sad, and then as the scene reached the second half, I was like, oh, now I'm feeling sad. Jeez, this sucks. Like it actually hit because the performance from both of them was very, very strong. And then putting me in the sense of really understanding they both want to be official. They both want to be the roles they're supposed to play. But then they start to break apart for obviously the love they have for the kid that's gone. So it's really sad, really well done.
And this is George R.R. Martin's world of A Song of Ice and Fire. This is how it works. When you have someone like Jacaerys, he's doing all the right things. Like he studies everything he's supposed to. He wants to be a good example. He doesn't want to cry like that. He is such like the perfect choice for an heir. But he's a bastard. Like he really shouldn't have that shitty.
And you have Rhaenyra, who actually loves her kids, as opposed to Alicent, who I love my kids, but they're retarded.
Alicent, I mean, with how she's portrayed in season 1, the scenes they show us are very much of her moving her children around on the board, much like Otto did with her. Not a huge amount of love. There's some moments, and they are curious, like when she's with her daughter. Once Viserys dies, you can tell she's sort of trying, but her daughter's not interested.
Yeah,
she is a bit scatterbrained, though, so you could interpret what that means. How
about that scene? Oh, go on, Frankie.
I was just going to say, I think it is the interesting dynamic in terms of the, I guess, the two sides is that Jacaerys has to. It's like he feels compelled to work harder to be worthy of a station that essentially he would be denied through no fault of his own. And then consequently, that makes him like a much more deserving person to be an heir and to rule one day compared to like Aegon.
Right. So, I mean, if you've been watching Game of Thrones long enough, anybody who's like as good as Jacaerys, like there's a reason they never end up on the throne. They just never fucking do, So
get their heads chopped off most of the time.
They get their heads chopped. They're honorable. You get screwed. But I really like the scene between Kristen Cole and Aemon when Aemon started out. Like Aemon's so like the reason he's such a great character and such a great foil for Daemon is like he doesn't bullshit and he's pragmatic and he just straight up says, yeah, my mom is lamenting all this bullshit, but she's the one who usurped the throne. So like,
no, he's right. I was actually curious. I'm not sure if I missed in the episode. Has Aemon told people it was a mistake or it was intentional?
I don't know if we got that, and I almost wish we would have seen it. I actually think I'm missing that scene a little bit to see Alicent's reaction to her coming back and to see Otto's reaction, and to see what he says, because I think there's a chance that even though it was an accident, he says, "I fucking killed the little cunt. He took my eye." Like I legit think there's a chance that he would tell people that he did it on purpose. Instead of claiming it was an accident.
He had a particularly smug expression when Alicent looked at him saying, you killed him. He had the face, the face that he always has, that smirk. And it does make you wonder, what did he tell them? Would he want to demonstrate? Because I mean, it's potentially a vulnerability to admit that he basically lost control of Vhagar.
I think so, yeah.
And he did.
That's what I mean.
That's the way it looked.
That's what happened
in the episode.
I was going to say, based on the information they've given us, my guess would be that he's not let anyone know that was not what he wanted. That was absolutely what he wanted. That's what I assume. It would be nice to be explicit, but I suppose in a way, maybe we don't need it. But I totally agree with Ryan. I would have loved to have seen Allison and Otto's reaction to that knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Otto in particular is the one I'm interested in.
Yeah,
what did he think?
Allison would just be horrified or whatever.
Yeah. Upon rewatching season 1, I was reminded of how much I enjoy Otto Hightower. He's it's very much the writing and the actor. Reese Ifans does such a good job with his. He knows how exactly to tell us what he's thinking and feeling all the time with just his face. He knows exactly what to do. It's not to say that several of the actors do. Because obviously I'm very excited about seeing more of Matt Smith as Damon as well. He's always fun. It's and you know what? Praise to I don't even know his name, but the actor for Aemond. When we were rewatching season 1, I was like, good God, he climbs up the interesting list so fast. That actor, you get like a few seconds of him in when he's reintroduced the adult actor, and he just captures the vibe instantly. And you're like, man,
he really wants to be Damon. Right,
Ewan Mitchell.
Ewan Mitchell. Yeah, he was in fucking The Last Kingdom. Yeah, he was in that show on Netflix. Yeah.
He looks like a guy who should be in a lot of medieval shows. Like
he does.
Or 1800s shows in like Ireland or Scotland or whatever.
I was really surprised actually that we got that scene with Corlys at the docks. With the character who's all he named is Alan right now.
Alan, yeah. I was too. They're setting things up.
Yeah,
obviously.
Like we won't say too much more about it, I guess. But I'm kind of shocked that we saw it that quickly. Although I do think that it makes what I've guessed all along about that character much more likely to be true. You know what I'm talking about, Gary.
I know what you're talking about.
Spoiler stream about what's going on with Alan.
I don't know if they'll even answer that this season, though. So there's supposed to be 4 seasons, right? And apparently they've already renewed it for 3, which I'm not surprised.
They'll have to get the 4th at that point, right?
They'll get it. They'll get it. I mean, either honestly, they could end the story in 3 seasons. They could, especially with as fast as they're going. That was the original plan, but the first season was so successful, like monstrously successful. But they could do this in 3, and it might even be better in 3. We'll find out. But hey, it's definitely got an end. It's got an ending. It meanders, but it's got an ending. So that's a very rare thing for a George R. R. Martin product. Very rare thing, including Dunk and Egg, the Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah, that's on the way now.
Book series.
That's what he said he's doing after Winds of Winter.
Oh, sure.
He said, after I finish Winds of Winter, I'm going to work on more Dunk and Egg.
I'm going to work on my own system.
Dream of Spring.
Fuck that one, MauLer.
That's never
get to it when he's dead.
Pass it on the afterlife.
So Aemon's going to be like, he's going to be kind of the star of the show. And he might even take a little away from Damon. We'll find out. Matt Smith was angry. Matt Smith Damon.
So he was possibly underserved in the episode. Maybe it depends on how things move along, because he kind of he spends most of it. I hesitate to say this. He's very whiny with everybody. He didn't seem like he was making the most fantastic points, other than stacking up. I hate you for not having killed Aegon. I hate you for not having killed Aegon. I hate you. It's like.
But he's not wrong. Somewhat. Okay, like all these people. Okay, maybe with Sir Eric, he was wrong. Like,
well, I don't even think the White Women makes any sense. Why would she have killed him? And it's like, yeah, well, he even like almost cites loyalty, like to the blacks versus the greens. And it's just like, what?
Yeah, I think he was trying to imply that she should have been loyal to him.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's kind of what I'm getting at. I feel like Damon's smart enough to know how things work, to know that's a bit irrational. Well, I mean, she has to explain it to him, you know?
I think, what we saw at the end of season 1, and now here, Damon's frustrated as fuck.
Okay.
Because, go ahead.
You would be pissed off if the the whore you were screwing, who showed loyalty to you, was actually and like it's not beyond Damon. Like
they did not have a good relationship though.
They didn't, but like selling you out to the other side. I mean, that's still got to sting a little bit.
Well, but as she pointed out, which he should know, she was selling information. It wasn't it wasn't biased. It was just staying alive. Remember the last interaction that we saw was when he was drunk and basically was admitting that he has no interest in her whatsoever, and that she was like, "Yeah, I've still taken care of you somewhat."
He's still a Targaryen, and like, by the way, a Targaryen that fully believes that they are a higher form of human than the regular human, like straight up.
Yeah, they're close to the gods. Close to the gods than they are to men.
Yeah. Let me put it this way. I would way prefer he went harder and heavier on Rhaenys, and I would way prefer that he got to where he was at the end of the conversation with the White Worm. If he'd gotten there himself, I don't think it required her to get him there. You know when he was like, okay, a trade, information for freedom. I was half considering like, you're angry at her now. The show has very much established that you think she betrayed you. Why don't you just torture her? Feels like it would be in line for Daemon at this point. She's got nothing.
And it was really interesting how because in the book they just like, she's here and now she's there, like that's pretty much all they give you. They have no context of like what got set up and how she made it, and I correct me if I'm wrong. Was she selling secrets to the High Towers in the books?
I don't believe so. No,
I don't think so. So that was for the show.
That's the thing. Because it was more than just information. She stashed Aegon. Like she found him and hid him intentionally, and then sold that to the High Towers.
In return of them not
while knowing that the king was dead, right? If I remember these scenes,
yes.
Like she knew that the king was dead. She knew why they wanted Aegon to supplant him. So like when you think about it, like from that perspective, I can see why Daemon's pissed.
So I think you're absolutely right, but that is now a problem of the dialogue, because if he had said, you knew how the succession was going to work, you could have killed him and no one would have known a thing. And then she responds like almost quiet, like not realizing, oh shit, he's absolutely right. She instead says he was going to get back eventually anyway. And like, he doesn't question that. And it's like, he should be saying, you could have killed him and no one would have known.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you?
Yeah. Well,
and then she can say, I did it for money. And then he can say, why the fuck would you trust Otto Hightower, you moron? Like, and then look at you now. I feel like a different conversation should have happened than the one that did.
Well, yeah. And she also didn't do it all for money. She did it so they'd stop those kid fights.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what?
Yeah.
I think it would actually be worth bringing that up to Daemon as well, because I think he could understand that somewhat. I know he's a bit...
I don't think Daemon would give a fuck.
No, but he knows that she cares about it at least. And it's
Daemon just instructed the death of a different child.
No, I know, but he would understand that's her reasoning, and it doesn't belong to the blacks or the greens. That's just she's trying to help kids,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. On the Rhaenys point, I really wish we incorporated her insane move to kill a bunch of people and not the right people. Exactly. I know that he did call her out, but she sort of leaves that scene, I feel, with the upper hand. She's like, you're not even the king. You can't say shit to me. It's like,
yeah. Well, do you think it's going to get brought up again?
The angle I appreciate is that she has Meleys. I get that. And he can't rock the boat too hard with her. But I kind of wish we could find a way to have her sort of defanged when it comes to speaking with him, that he could call her out of her character, of her principles. Rewatching season 1, I actually kick a couple of issues with her, not necessarily in how it's written, but in how people perceive her.
Yeah.
I really wish she was called out more. Do you remember how in the latter episodes she's enjoying being on the fence? When they mention Meleys is under their command, so to speak, or rather part of their army, the camera goes over to her and she's like, you don't have Meleys, that's mine. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, you annoying asshole. She later on, when it's announced that the Valarians are on the Blacks team, Rhaenyra looks at her and she has this expression of, you see, I've convinced him to join you because I was always on your side. It's like, no, you weren't.
You were not on her side.
Do you remember she says I like denied them in King's Landing. It's like she did not. She was on the fence until she could escape.
Until she was in a position of power, and then she was able to make a choice at that point.
She's the queen who never was. So
I do think that they are very intentional. I've heard a couple podcast interviews with Ryan Condal as well, where he's talking about how the small folk handle going to war. Things like we saw with them taking the sheep and taking the tithing of basically the sheep and stuff like that, and how people are going to start to resent what's going on in the kingdoms and everything. I feel like there's a chance that what happened at the Dragon Pit gets brought up again.
I hope
later
so.
on.
I hope so too.
Especially the way they're trying to show Aegon wanting the small folk to like him versus what we've seen across a couple other things. I would not be surprised if it does get addressed later. Maybe even in something that happens at a Dragon Pit. I don't know.
See, that would be interesting. If there was like a Westeros version of X Twitter, and some news agency really got that footage of her stepping on a bunch of small folk and just ran that on a loop. The optics of that would be terrible because they were terrible.
You just picture Matt Smith as David being like, "Have you seen this tweet?
Have you seen this tweet?
It has 100,000 likes."
She's stepping on all you small folk, literally. So yeah, I think. And that would be really smart. That would be something we were critical of, and they bring it up later. It's like, oh, okay.
I guess the problem is that Rhaenys can't be saved. It seems like she's doomed as a character, forever.
I wouldn't say saved, but I'd certainly, if she acknowledges it as a mistake and she's brought down somewhat from a character level and then tries to rectify how she's pretty weak considering how much she judges everyone else, that would be something.
It would be. It would be. Remember, she's like, I'm over, not being the queen when she's clearly not. She's clearly not over
you are entirely highlighting like what I see as please do this, please use what you have here. Don't. I hope
hopefully
the show,
it's not an oversight. Hopefully,
I hope the show doesn't think that she is awesome and
strong woman. Yeah.
I hope the show realizes the mistakes that she's made, the significant ones.
It might come back to bite her. You never know.
You never know. Well, that's the thing is everybody's culpable in this. I don't think that's a secret.
That's the thing. There are so few characters that have any actual good moral standing. Everyone else is very much either just fucked up or somewhere in between.
Yeah, for example, like I believe 100% the show is trying to tell me it thinks Allison and Cole are like, these guys would tell you they've got principles, but I mean, I get that impression. I just wasn't sure with Rhaenys.
Yeah. 100%. Like Kristen Cole's like mad that Rhaenyra spurned him and that she wanted to he's mad that she violates her oaths, but he's not mad that when it was with him. Right? He's mad that it's with the strong and all this stuff, but he is more than willing to do it with Allison.
Like
now, I wonder if it was happening while Viserys was still alive. That's my next question.
The side everybody is on, let's not forget, like Rhaenyra lied to her father, to the realm, to everybody about these bastards.
Rhaenyra doesn't deserve to be queen.
Yeah.
And that's the best part about this thing. Rhaenyra doesn't deserve to be queen. Her heir to the throne would be a fucking bastard out of wedlock. She fucked around when she was young with the Kingsguard. Like, she does not deserve to be in the position that she's in.
And supposedly,
and she continues to make bad mistakes. We just pointed out, like, the decision to just assume that a Baratheon would be totally fine with like a 12-year-old kid coming to say, "Hey, my mom told you, remember your oaths, old man."
Yeah.
While somebody else is bringing me something of value.
Yep.
That was a big mistake.
Well, I mean, like, who are you going to marry? Oh, I'm already going to get married to somebody else. He's
which was a result of the leverage to get Rhaenys to advocate for them in episode 8 of season 1. You know what I mean? Like, it's like spending power, and it's already taken.
It's already taken. But yeah, we're not going to get much more at the North, which had a whole backstory of a possible Sarah Snow bastard, and they went out hunting. They spent a lot of time together up there, but we did get a little bit of I'm sure he had Cregan had a conversation with Jacaerys about the White Walkers. I mean, they hinted to it. I'm sure he knows now. So we'll see if that, I don't know how that plays it. We talked about it, MauLer. Like, I think this series ends with Bran like standing by a werewood tree
and being like, "Oh, I remember this.
I remember this."
Sarcastic, yeah.
No,
I'll never forget Bran being sat on the throne and my dad's fucking disappointment. It was so sad. He's the person who hated the most I knew.
Bran the Broken.
Everyone.
Because it is very conspicuous, like Gary said, because there's no, you don't have that tree in the books. You don't have the werewood tree in the books or in Game of Thrones proper in King's Landing. So the idea that so many very important conversations took place right in front of it, I feel like they're trying to set something up or whatever. Maybe it could happen in something, a different project, but I feel like they're setting up a lot of these things happening in front of the werewood so someone could look back and see them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And did you see the scenes for next week? Not to get too far ahead. You see the red woman? There's a red woman. There's a red woman in the scenes. It's not next week. It's for the entire season.
The whole season preview. Yeah.
It was definitely a Lord worshiper.
What else happened?
Well, there's the big event.
There's the big event at the end. So there's blood and cheese. Blood and cheese, which is something Ryan and I have been building up like fucking crazy. And Chris talked about it a little bit on FNT. So before we get into our thoughts,
I want to hear them.
Yeah, I want to hear what Fringy and MauLer have to say about that ending.
I enjoyed the logistics of how they got to where they were. There was a little bit of what feels like strings being pulled in terms of they had it somewhat easy. I enjoyed the handmaiden spotting the quote unquote rat catcher, and it not quite working, at least from his POV, being like, oh fuck, she probably doesn't believe what I just did, because he was just like fumbling with the rat cage.
Kill her,
yeah. Then with the so this is the thing. This is hard to explain to people who knew this was going to happen / have read about the stuff. It's like my POV, I was just like, oh shit, he bumps into the queen, okay. And then of course I've got my understanding of her character in my head, which is she's kind of nuts. So anything could happen here. She could scream, she could be confused, she could be scatterbrained to the point where she doesn't even know what's happening. They've got a lot of freedom. But I did feel pretty bad for her, and I got a sense from the actress that there's a lot of conflict in her emotional state in terms of she has no idea how to feel or what to do, which I could believe of the character from what they gave of her. So then they start talking. Now, these two don't seem like the sharpest tools in the shed, nor do they seem particularly moral. So the first thought I had was, wow, they're getting 3 for 1. That was not at all what happened. I was like, okay. Now, I'm trying to argue against myself somewhat, keep me level. So I'm like, oh, they were sent there to get 1. And I was like, yeah, but I mean, they're probably, these are witnesses, and they'll get even more reward, presumably, from Daemon if they get 3. It's not like he said not to kill anyone else, I mean, I don't remember there being an implication, but surely these are the types of dudes that if they see they were going to kill the handmaiden, right? I know that that's a lower born person, but at the same time, I thought they were going to kill all 3. I just thought that's what was going to happen, and that would be particularly tragic.
Just remember the orders from Daemon. So it's insinuated in the book it's Daemon who gets blood and cheese. And in the show, it is. But he specifically said a son for a son. So 1. And he paid him half up front. And I would assume that they're going to have to leave town anyway, whether they pulled whatever they pulled off. Even if they didn't pull anything off, they'd have to leave town.
These guys just came across to me as like they're going to be delivering the head of a baby to or close enough to a baby, to Daemon, that I just figured these 3 are dead and they're getting out of there. That's just what's happened.
So what did you think, Fringy?
Well, the thing is when you're watching a show and you have a sequence set up of you're going to go get Aemond, and then it's a very long sequence. The whole time you're thinking, well, something's going to go wrong then. It's not going to go as planned. And then you've also got it's like, no way they're getting rid of Aemond. No way. Like, he's way too interesting a character.
Yeah.
Particularly when earlier in the episode, we got the very first scene of Otto and Aemon talking to each other directly, which is something that was particularly exciting since there were so many instances in season 1 where it felt like Otto was starting to realize that Aemon was somebody to pay attention to, keep an eye on. Like, oh, he's interesting, like he's cunning, he's bold. And so it's really, the fact that this is the first time that we got to see those two interact with each other. The conclusion is, oh, well then, yeah, no way Aemon's going to die in this episode. And so I think as it was going on, I was just thinking, okay, well, so what is the nature of how it's going to go wrong? And presumably because this is the, premiere for season 2, it's going to go wrong in a way that is particularly dramatic and will have major repercussions throughout the season. So, I mean, it's shocking. I think I agree with what MauLer was saying, though, in terms of these two guys seemed like that, there's no line that they wouldn't cross. So it seemed like when that situation played out that they would just kill all 3 of them.
To spend any time trying to figure out which one is which, to me, is like surely one of them.
Particularly when someone could walk in at any moment and ruin everything.
So the way it happens in the books, so for anybody that's a book reader, you feel really gypped by this scene.
Yes.
And we've been hyping it up and building it up. It's pretty fucking, like, if I put it in perspective, having not read it, it's pretty fucking dark to hear the sounds of a child's head being chopped off after the mother was forced to point out which child it is. It's pretty fucked up scene.
It is.
But in the book, what happens is Daemon says son for a son. Well, somebody says son for a son. And Blood and Cheese go in there. They do their thing. And they basically, they get trapped with, well, not trapped, but they corner Helena with Jaehaerys, so the boy, and MauLer, another younger son.
Yeah.
Who was not shown in this sequence. They just had Jaehaerys and Jaehaera, the twins. And he says to her, hey, we're going to kill one of your sons. You choose which one we kill. And she points to the youngest MauLer.
Yep.
They look at her son and they say, do you hear that, boy? Your mommy wants you to die. And they chop off the other one's head.
That's better.
Yes. And I mean, obviously, it's fucked up. But to get to one of your points about how they leave them alive, I don't know if it's whether they were specifically instructed to keep them alive to live with that type of fucked up grief or whatever it may be. But Helena and the other kids are left unharmed and alive, forced to deal with that. So, MauLer lives on knowing that his mother chose him to fucking die. And Helena kind of goes nuts in the aftermath.
Yeah,
I think you could write it so that it works very cleanly, that they would kill the one and then basically like enjoy the suffering somewhat and be like, we're going to kill all of you still. And then it can get interrupted, right? She could make enough noise. She could push one of them over. Anything can happen that can then alert someone and they can be like, fuck, we've got one. Just go, get out of here. Like something that interrupts it.
What the only thing they explain in the book is they bolt the door and they kill the handmaiden. So they kill her. It doesn't mention that they were sent to kill Aemon at all. It was just son for a son. So they bolt the door, they kill the handmaiden, do what Ryan just said, lop off Jaehaerys' head. Sorry, not Jaehaerys, but lop off the heir's head and put it in a bag. And then I think it's the Maester's perspective at this point in the book. They go, and surprisingly, they leave everybody else alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a surprise.
That's how it's like described in the book. Yeah.
I think I understand what you're saying. Like it was strict to kill one son.
Very strict. That's the impression.
I think if they'd done that in the show, I could have bought it much better that these guys, they were clean about their approach and they have a very strict instructions. Like I didn't feel that they had, I know that he said a son for a son, but I feel like he should have said, kill one son. Do not hurt anyone else. The message needs to be clear. Like if he had said that, I would have bought it.
Because it's still kinslaying, and they didn't do a great job in this episode. Like it's like kinslaying is bad, like, and it's still considered bad even by the most evil people. Like there's still this line that most even of the worst not the worst of the worst, but we'll say the worst, which is still pretty bad in Westeros, that they will not cross that line. They're against that.
Yeah.
I do think that for the most part, as much as like book readers are wishing we could have got a scene where we watch a child's head get chopped off, I feel like most like the general audience is going to feel pretty disturbed by what they witnessed.
Probably, yeah.
So that's interesting because I'm starting to realize that a lot of people felt a little let down. Like the show's kind of
it went soft.
In
my opinion, it went soft.
Because what's interesting is the season 1 finale. If you remember, one of the most grotesque scenes is probably the stillbirth, right? It's like Jesus. They show a lot of that in terms of blood and guts and a dead baby. You could probably assume they could have. I'm trying to think of what would the compromise be as opposed to showing it fully. I think I understand the decision.
I think HBO producers just put their just a line in the sand saying no.
Yeah, they say, I could totally believe that they said you can't go that far. You just can't. I was also going to bring up the reason why I said better as opposed to different is because I think as it stands in the show, the scene works, but it is a little clumsy. And part of that we haven't gotten to yet is how casually she escapes.
Yes,
the two of them working together to chop off a very small boy's neck. You know what I mean? Like it's very strange.
Yeah, well, that's why they showed the knife and
the rat knife
and the rat catcher's head shaking, but it's actually it's blood, right? Who is it? Blood? Pretty sure it's blood.
Would be the guard, and Cheese is the rat catcher.
So his head gets lopped off with a sword, just gone. That's it's flaps in the air. They pick it up. Throw it in a bag.
It's interesting because I feel like the one you've described is tighter. It actually accounts for a couple of my issues.
It is tighter, and it explains why they did leave them alive type of way.
It does.
Which you're being kind of critical of not understanding. So
yeah.
I get where you're coming, which is why I wanted to explain it like that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That choice being there and not between a girl and a boy, the choice between the two sons, I would say, fine. If you don't want to show a kid's head being chopped off, fine. But dude, put the choice in between the kids.
Yeah.
That's where the impact is, and that's the most fucked up thing.
I think it would have been very easy for them to adapt it like it was in the book and just not show on camera it happening. Just show a fucking shadow of it happening.
That's actually part of my confusion. I don't know why they didn't directly adapt the writing rather than the gore. They didn't have. I understand that the people would have preferred seeing something more effective, but I actually think they could have been even more effective without necessarily showing the exact details, because the horror of forcing a mother who's already bleeding at the neck to choose between her sons dying, I think people would have really gotten into that in a really bad way, in an effective way. I mean,
more people would be talking about it. This would be way more talked about. This will be going on fire right now online if they had.
This is why we thought it was going to be so crazy.
Yeah.
Right, because that is such a disturbing, grotesque, heartbreaking sequence when it does happen in Fire and Blood.
I mean, you burned a child alive.
I could,
not too long ago.
Go to a tiny bit of defense for the show in terms of the choice. The problem with this is that it's really it's an awareness thing. She technically, at least according to the killers, did make the choice based on reasons beyond the choice they asked her to do. As in, like, she was trying to, according to them.
And then we can get into why they chose to leave out the younger son and make it a daughter, and she chose her daughter. There could be some message.
Yeah, there could be. Well, I was going to say there could be more to this that gets developed later in terms of her. I think it's a missed opportunity if they don't have her choice have repercussions for the characters and their dynamics, right? Like her and her husband / herself having to deal with having done this. It's just that from what you described, I feel like the potential was larger there.
It's so much larger, and they blew it. They straight up blew like one of the most shocking things in the book that really ramps up like, oh, it's war now. It is effing war. Like, not that they were going to avoid it after Lucerys got eaten, but they could have. There was that option there. And after this event, it's like, it's on. It's absolutely on. And it still is. It's just not as impactful.
What's interesting is that how do you think people will take it with no context as to what it could have been?
That's going to be interesting.
That's what I want to know. I think most people are still going to feel very disturbed by it. There might be people that are more disturbed that the dog got kicked than the kid getting killed. But
I have seen a lot of people upset about that. It isn't. I think I would. Maybe I'm inclined to now that I know more context, but I still think I would have been of the opinion that this scene, for what it was, could have been handled a lot better. And to be honest with you, I kind of expect better because they're very good at this stuff a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But, I don't want to hold it against them too hard. I'm sure we'll have to wait and see what they do with it.
Still a solid episode and better than 99.9% of the shit on TV right now.
I really liked the entire episode actually, and setting up some of these things.
I liked it
a lot. But yeah, it's tough when you could have had like something that would be talked about for years and years and years in cinema, and we didn't. That's kind of how I just feel disappointed in that way. But for the general viewing audience who's going to have no fucking idea, I still think they're going to come off as very disturbed.
Well, I think it's still shocking. It's
sound effects
still shocking on its own.
The sounds were solid. They were like, oof, that's happening.
Especially when you hit the closed captions on the sounds and it's like muscle or like skin and bone crunching and stuff like that.
I didn't see that.
It's like, yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
And you see, well, and we even talk about Helena runs into her mother's room and she's there fucking Kristen Cole.
That was not in the book.
So that was actually, I hate to, I don't know if this would be considered a nitpick, but really, guys, the doors are locked. You might want to,
what the fuck are you doing?
I was like, that's maybe they've just gotten careless, but that's how easily that could be exposed. It's like, okay.
I suppose
they don't have all the Kingsguard with them.
They don't have all the Kingsguard because they've only got 4. The other 3 went with Rhaenyra. And my guess.
Well, there's a bunch of staff, and there's also some leftover lords that are in the black cells right now. Not everybody's alive, according to Laris, but there's still some who are loyal, or they suspect are loyal to the blacks that are in the black cells right now. So they might be short-staffed.
Yeah, and my guess is that Kristen Cole was the one assigned to guard her.
Oh, sure. No, I think that's totally true. I'm just saying.
Why don't you lock the fucking door?
He's doing a great job.
Even wedging a door against it, so they have a fucking warning if anyone tries to burst
sock on the door.
Maybe that's if it's as you've explained in terms of changing what the drama is in the sequence that they thought, if we're going to change it, then we should add in something new as an element, and that was what they added in as like the new drama that it exists in the show and not in the source material. But it's like you said, it just invites those questions of, someone can just like barge through the doors and see that happening. You're not taking many precautions, which in the case of, Kristen Cole, I mean, it's your whole life, and a particularly grisly demise. So
it feels like there are ways to do this that are stronger. She runs to her mother's room. The door cannot open. She's desperately screaming for help. Allison's struggling to get some clothes on. Kristen Cole's like,
she comes to the door with like blankets around her, and Kristen Cole's in the bed. Yeah.
Hearing her daughter screaming, she'll be like, I gotta see what the fuck's going on. And then they open the door, and you just need anyone to see Kristen Cole like that and her like that, and to be like, oh.
Or the idea that Allison in her daughter's like time of despair and need, and she's going crazy and she's busy getting fucked by Kristen Cole. Like maybe the idea of like how she's fallen, like in that moment, like really affects her going forward. Yeah.
No, there's definitely stuff they can do with this. It's just, like I said, those small little questions of like, man, they usually get this stuff real good. It's
like optimizing for drama rather than you got some drama, but you got there in a way that was clunky.
And doesn't seem like it wasn't difficult to solve these problems. You could even have that payoff of her daughter seeing that, knowing that,
Yeah, well, like I think that's obviously going to play a big role going forward.
Yeah.
Like the fact that now Helena has seen that and knows. Thank God the retarded chick is the one that saw it. Allison keeps getting away with stuff. So
I was thinking that anything could happen because that daughter's brain is going to be even more destroyed after this.
Yes, that is absolutely going to happen.
Now
in
she's a dragon rider too.
She's a potential dragon rider.
Yeah.
What's the name of her dragon? I try to keep track of these things.
What is
not Moon Dancer? Dreamfire.
No.
Fuck, I don't know.
I'm curious about Sea Smoke, by the way. I think we would have talked about this last season, but how did Vaymond escape Sea Smoke, so to speak? Sorry, not Vaymond.
Laenor?
Laenor, that's it, yeah.
Well, Laenor left, right?
Dreamfire.
It is
That's
Dreamfire?
Dreamfire.
Yeah. I got it on one of my guesses.
Short bus.
Yeah.
It's the chat.
So that is going to be one of the most interesting things because, and I guess we can't really get too much into it, but the fact remains that Laenor actually died in the book. It wasn't he escaped to be with his gay lover or whatever, right? He was gay, but he died that night.
Because I assume from the book's perspective, could it not be written by a character who thought he was dead?
Yes.
But there was no hint given that he lived. Whereas they do give some outs and some guesses of like, oh, this person could have lived, this person might have lived and lived on whatever. And there was already hint about that for Laenor. But the interesting part becomes the question you asked about Sea Smoke. Because I can't fucking get into it. We can't talk about it.
We can't get into it, but that's a very good question that you should
it's in the back of my head because, of course, I can explain it, right? I could be like, the dragon riders have the ability to essentially command their dragons to stay the fuck away from them indefinitely. I don't know that that's true. I haven't seen any example.
You can make that up, though. I mean, they've already made a couple things up. So,
but it is curious because I know Daemon explicitly named Sea Smoke as available, which I find interesting of what's going to happen in regards to that. Same for Vermithor and the Cannibal.
Vermithor.
Vermithor. So there are a lot of unclaimed dragons that were written by Targaryens in the past.
Yeah, Vermithor is the second oldest dragon. Third oldest, they suspect, is the Cannibal. They're not really sure, but it's a big one.
You see Vermithor presumably in season 1, right? The ending.
You do. Daemon
sings to him. Yeah.
That is a creature that you're like, what are you eating? Because holy shit, you need a lot of food. Like,
so they do whales? Talk about how when they're not at war or whatever, when dragons are just fucking chilling, they don't eat nearly as much as do when they're like active and like at war and shit, which becomes a problem for needing to feed all them when the war really ramps up.
That's an awesome detail, by the way, to throw in.
That's cool for logistics. You know, it just becomes the logistics of dealing with dragons in war rather than
there's your power levels explained.
I do want to praise the episode for not shying away from these things. Game of Thrones started to do that hardcore post season 4. It started to give up on all of the realities of the world. The obvious one being travel. Everyone saw that. We're like, why is everyone teleporting? This sucks. But also just the strain on resources for everybody. I hope they keep it up. It is important. It really helps maintain the nature of this world, and you can get some good drama out of it.
Yep. Gold. Like they did start that, like the blacksmiths going, hey, iron prices are up. We want to make weapons for you, but you're making it awfully hard. Yes. Yeah. Hugh. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if he'll show up again.
Well, so you guys can be sneaky with your comments, but it's already the TV show's doing it. You know, the fact that we had that one scene with Corlys and that guy called Alan. Obviously, me and Friggy are like, that's going to come up again.
You're never going to see Alan again or Hugh. They named somebody instead of just small folk guy with the sheep or the goats or whatever.
This is the thing. We're watching a show that has been written and likely redrafted several times by people who've got source material, who care. They want to be able to get these things across. They've got actors who know all this stuff. Versus when you watch something like The Acolyte and you have a scene where some guy goes, I'm Bajombo Bajubi, like we might never see him again. I don't know. He's a clown.
Yeah.
He's jumping up and down.
The fun of the speculation. You can speculate on a good show in a way that's essentially meeting the show where it's at. You can take what it's presented you and develop theories about, whoa, I mean, this could happen because this character has been characterized in this way. And we've seen this event play out. Like you can... As opposed to, again, with the Acolyte, where it's like, well, I wonder what they're going to do. What are they going to do in their crazy world of writing television shows? What stupid ideas do they have, and how clunkily are they going to get to them?
That's a very good question. Well, in this show, I hope there isn't any stupid ideas, but I felt like as somebody who was building up Blood and Cheese, the way Blood and Cheese was presented in the book, it was 1,000 times better. I think it would be more talked about. I think it would have more impact, and I think they blew it. But it was still a really good episode. It doesn't ruin the entire series. There is a lot more bloodshed to come. People are going to die. Sorry, I'm spoiling stuff for you, but people are going to die horribly. I hope they don't start going soft because of political correctness or any of that other bullshit like that. Like there is ways. Again, my problem is the choice, like them taking the choice of the two sons away. That's my biggest problem. If they'd lop the head off screen, whatever.
Yeah, and to be clear, that's also dependent on what Damon told them to do. Because, like I said, as it stands in the show, what Damon says seemed not as pointed as it should have been. Not as specific.
Well, considering how consequential it's going to be, yeah.
Well, they did the soap opera cutaway where like he goes, go after Eamon. Well, what if we can't find him? And he goes,
because they want to so you watch it, you're like, ooh, I wonder what that means, rather than, well, wait, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing what they actually discussed.
Yeah, and we know from the next time on and stuff that he's going to get punished for this, Damon.
Of course, yeah.
It's hardcore.
It's a very, aside from how monstrous it is, it's a tactical blunder. This is going to be hugely bad for the Team Black.
This launches the Westerosi Cold War into a hot war.
Yes.
It completely undermines Rhaenyra significantly. Because
what's funny is
if you're targeting, the descendant of Aegon, it means that you're threatened, or it indicates to people they might believe that you're threatening. Or threatened by the succession.
And she absolutely, until this happened, she was like, they're kinslayers. The people sitting on the throne.
Yeah, it's too late.
She's lost the high ground. Exactly.
Lost it completely.
Well, and, it's funny because it reflects the people watching the show as well as the people of the world they're in. That Rhaenyra had, I think, the stronger position, but now it's kind of awkward because there's a lot of actions Team Green can take that people will be like, I think that's disgusting. And it's like, I mean, they came into the place at night and fucking chopped the head off a baby. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like you would imagine that this will set Aegon off, right? Like he's gonna get really tired of listening to Otto preach. Well, let's just send more ravens out.
Yeah,
he's not gonna want to do that type of shit anymore. And it's gonna
become chaotic, and it's gonna cost the regular people of the world, and that's gonna have consequences. How much will they tolerate?
You're gonna see that they're gonna tolerate a lot, whether they like it or not.
Well, yeah, with dragons, it's kind of that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I love that they set up in the beginning the graybeards for us olds right now. So Jacaerys went up there to get Cregan so he could pledge some men, and he's like, I can't. We got to man the wall. They still had a lot of respect for the Night's Watch. We got to, fight off wildlings and death. But we have a lot of graybeards, and winter is coming, and we'll send them down. So he pledges a bunch of old men who are going to go, and it's going to be great when they show up. When the old men show up, it's fucking awesome. So
in that opening scene, I was kind of having a thought, and it reminded me because I remember something that MauLer mentioned to me, the blade,
ice.
That like and how he was saying, oh man, thinking about where it's heading, right? That it heads to Game of Thrones, like this story invariably leads there. How much is that like on your guys' minds as you're watching the show that it leads to Game of Thrones and it leads to that ending?
No, to be honest, none of it is me thinking about it leading to the ending, at least not with that opening sequence. That opening sequence, I was like, holy shit, this guy kind of fucking sounds like Sean Bean.
Yeah. Sounds like a Stark.
Yeah, like this guy kind of sounds like Sean Bean, and he's got ice, and they're at the fucking wall, and they're back in the north, and I was digging it. I really liked it.
And his old backstory that they left out, Cregan is his uncle was Castellan and wouldn't. And this is part of the reason he sides with Rhaenyra is like he almost got usurped too by his uncle, and he had to basically, throw his uncle in jail and his cousins because he wouldn't leave the
he wouldn't give it up. Once he came of age, he wouldn't give up he wouldn't give it up. So
he just fuck it, I'll throw you in jail. So that's part of the reason. The reason Lady Aaron sides with Rhaenyra is, well, she's like, hey, I'm a woman leader, and I've already had a bunch of male heirs try to throw me out there in my sky cells right now.
When Rhaenyra's mother was an Aaron as well, right?
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
Her mother was
so their
Aaron.
blood was connected already too. And
she also did get a dragon out of it.
She gets a dragon out of it, like a dragon protector, and I guess she's going to show up later. But yeah, everything is kind of set up. I think a lot of people, and me included, probably thought they would hit the ground like running after Lucerys gets eaten at the very end. But they do have to set things up before other events happen that they've already talked about, and they kind of blew it in the scenes. But what's happening next? But
I appreciate the slower pace because it indicates a level of restraint that makes me a bit more optimistic rather than, racing through a bunch of events and having a whole bunch of crazy things happen very quickly. Now, of course, it depends, I guess, in terms of the timeline and how it relates to the source material. But on the one hand, taking it slower and just sort of reestablishing all of your elements makes me a little bit optimistic that they're being cautious.
With the new intro, it feels like they're laying the table again to make sure that we all understand how everything is before everyone starts dying, which is what I assume is going to happen.
Yeah. I kind of liked this introduction a little better than last season. Like last season, obviously it was, hey, bloodlines are important. It's like, well, I guess they are. I kind of
it was also on the model, right? Viserys' model.
I
thought that was neat.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose with this one, there's a lot more foreshadowing.
Well, this one's tapestries, and actually tapestries play a huge part for some reason in the Song of Ice and Fire. They're always mentioned. Littlefinger grabs a bunch at some point to take to the Eyrie that are from that Robert took down, and like they're just important.
They even mentioned him in, what was it, episode 4 of the first season when Alicent or whatever is like, Damon, do you want to see the tapestries or whatever? And Viserys is like, Damon, do you want to see the tapestries? Like, yeah.
No, that's so good.
They got some weird ass tapestries in that castle if you saw them in the scenes as well.
There was, I feel like there was one big, I don't know if it's a tapestry piece art or something. You only saw it for a split second when they were looking for Aemond in the room that him and Kristen Cole had just been at. Mm-hmm. It looked like it was Doom of Valyria.
Yes, it did.
What it looked like cool to me. But it went by so fast, I couldn't really tell. But it was cool.
Good stuff.
I even liked, by the way, the set a trap. He's like, huh? He's like, so that we look like we're actually doing our fucking job. I was like,
yep.
Yeah.
No, like up until that moment, I thought it was good.
Stupid too.
They were stupid, but like things going sideways made sense. Like they were they wanted to kill one person. They couldn't. Then they get lost in there. It's like, that makes sense. I thought that was working for me.
And that dog, the catcher with the dog, was there like in a couple different scenes. He's walking around in the background.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Which I only noticed because there's a fucking dog there. But not until they show him later do you realize it's him they've been showing the entire time.
Are people going to be more upset about the dog getting kicked than the kid getting its head cut off?
1000%, because you could see the dog. And also, animals are better than people in general.
Do you think that was their notes? You can't cut a baby's head off, but you can kick a dog.
Well, I mean, because like he just got kicked. I mean, that's bad, but he didn't get killed.
Well, you don't come back psychologically from that, Gary.
You don't?
As a dog,
maybe it was several viral tweets that will have an image of it and be like, "I'll never forgive the show for this."
Maybe Bran like time warged into that dog. Maybe
that's probably a CG dog, though, right? You're probably not allowed to kick a dog.
No way, they'd have kick
no way, right? Dog. Yeah,
no way.
It's the principle, though.
It is the principle. I agree.
It's funny. You go back to like the 70s and say like it could have been CG with a kick to that. It's like, no, they would have just kicked a dog in the 70s.
They would have had 10 dogs on scene just to be kicked and die. That's what they used to do back in the 70s.
Sorry, security wanted to check in on the room that we read. Like, I guess they just open the doors here and just walk in.
Hey, that's how it happened for Helena too.
Yeah, they want to make sure that you're okay. Not getting your head chopped off.
It was a rat catcher. It was a rat catcher. Hey, good episode. We've got we're going to be doing this all year, everybody. All year. That's why I did this from the road. I'm in North Carolina right now.
Yeah, I thought the episode was really good, actually. It's hard to not be disappointed with what we could have had with that ending.
Well, yeah, I think there's even probably small pieces more to appreciate that we didn't even get to necessarily, but there's the big event, and then there's the take on it, which can actually kind of guide you on your thoughts on the whole episode, despite the fact that it was a long episode. There's lots of stuff in it.
Yes, things happened with characters, and it was believable, and I bought into the world, and everything looked fucking great, by the way.
The production values are remarkable.
Holy shit, it's a movie. It looks like a damn movie.
Because the dragons still look awesome. I was saying to when we were watching it that when all the guys panic when the corpse has sort of come to shore, the dragon, and you see Cyrax is coming down, and all the guys like dragon. It's like, guys, that's the friendly dragon. Like, you got to remember these things. It's going to be important that you recognize the difference.
I think that shows that they don't know the difference. Like, dragon is just fucking run. We're not going to bother.
Well.
Because they don't really know, also, by the way.
The people on the walls did it with Vega, which was kind of surprising.
Well, I think the implication would be you fucking hear a roar of a dragon, you see a silhouette, you get fucking ready. You know what I mean? Like you get ready because you don't know exactly what's going to happen. For sure.
There's the Battle of Marine where the dragons get out in the books, and they start they're eating all the corpses that are being flung out on the trebuchets, which is, God, I wish I could see that. That would have been such a good scene. All the corpse being flung into Marine and the dragons catching them in the air. But I think it's Barristan who brings up, who's still alive in the books, brings up, like, they're like, what about the dragons? And dragons are going to do what they're going to do. We have no idea if they're the good people or the bad people. But the thing is, they do know if they have a writer. If their writer is there, they know.
Don't mistake me. I know the dragons are a threat to the only person you'd expect them to protect are the dragon rider. I get that. It's just they're going to need to make sure the people on the walls manning the scorpions, it's like, you better fucking tell the difference between the good dragons and the bad dragons.
Now, with that scene with Rhaenyra, though, like, they're right there by Storm's End. Like, there's those people are loyal to Storm's End that were there. So there's a really good chance that they're not friendly to Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra's not friendly to them, especially in light of what happened.
So she was visiting Storm's End at the time, then, was it? Sort of
she
waiting
flew there to look through the bay. Like, yeah. Shipbreaker Bay, is that what that one is?
Yeah, and there's not much they can do about it. For one,
that makes sense.
They start firing on her, then they'll rain hell on them. And Storm's End is damn near impregnable, but
any of them with even a brain cell would say, "Don't, just get away from her. Like, just stay the fuck away from
her." You guys want to do some super chats?
Sure.
Tell me when you need to go.
And obviously read them carefully in case there's any
Oh yeah. Well, what, any gamer words? No,
any spoilers. Read the gamer words. Go ahead. I'm just saying spoilers.
Yeah, I'll read them carefully, and I don't know. I think we should be able to get to them all, but I'll read them carefully. I'll edit them. Aegon is just like his daddy, and Kristen Cole is such a hypocrite. Everybody's a hypocrite in this. Dakota Stanton for $20, but thank you for the $20.
Aegon's just like his daddy. I don't think. I don't think we're gonna see that play out that way.
Yeah.
God no! Yeah. I'm expecting Aegon is going to do some evil shit.
Series, they improved on the series from the book. Even George admitted that with Patty's portrayal was a fuck up, but he did the best he could, and he wasn't a bad dude. Right?
I don't think any character is going to beat him for me in this series once it's completed.
No way.
That was such an excellent execution of an arc. It was so good.
Well, you can take that into Game of Thrones. Oh, sorry. What was that, Ryan?
And it's just so tight. Like, you've got an 8-episode arc with him. Like, you don't have to sit by 4 seasons and make sure that he's consistent time to time. Like, his story's done.
Happy Father's Day from Daemon Targaryen, says Dakota Stanton for $20. Yes, we do need to point out that they did. Okay, so Tyrion Lannister killed Tywin on the toilet on a Father's Day. The Man in Black killed his daughter in Westworld on HBO on a Father's Day, and now we have Daemon Targaryen
organizing the death of a son,
on Father's Day. So Hollywood really hates fathers. They really
strange approach.
Yeah. but we don't. Happy Father's Day, everybody. Happy Father's Day. Couple dads here. At least I am one. So, damn, when Stark theme played in the opening, it tugged my old stone heart. Mine too. Vermithor for $50. Thank you very much. Frank Gore had me worried with what he saw early, but overall a decent start. I agree. So happy to have House of the Dragon back and listen to the boys talk Game of Thrones for the next 8 weeks. Hail. That's nice, to be honest with you. That's pretty neat.
Thinking about it a little bit, I do actually feel like my thoughts on this first episode are similar to my thoughts about the first episode last season. You know?
Okay.
Like going back and looking at it, it feels good. It feels obviously like they're setting things up, which you would expect that. That might be a little disappointing for some people who have all the advertising has been about fucking war in Westeros, civil war in Westeros, choose a side, blah, blah, blah. But overall, I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed seeing the characters interact with each other with good writers.
If I'm being honest, what I want is to have the feelings I had about episode 8 of season 1 again. Like, I want them to get to those highs. I really hope they do. If they don't, I'll still happily accept a good show. Certainly in the world we're in. It's like, all right, let's just have a good show.
Let's have a good. Hey, remember what the surprise of episode 1? MauLer and I were like, we're gonna watch this and probably hate it and be done. And we're like, that was kind of good. You know,
well, you could. I've said this before. You can go and watch that stream. It's still out there, like on Gary's channel. I'm struggling to fucking recall the houses and like the locations. You could tell I had locked it away. I was like, I'm done. They destroyed everything. I'm out. And then this show, I was like, this is stuff here that's working.
That was pretty good.
It was, and it was episode 3. It was, I think, specifically when Viserys was standing next to the fire, explaining his indecision with the succession, and basically Paddy Considine giving a fantastic performance. I was like, oh shit, I think the show's good. I like this. This is good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I think I'm in.
And we were for all 8 episodes. Especially when we saw Paddy walk across that floor. God damn, that was good.
That 8th episode, there's so many good scenes, and then there's the goat scene that even as a seen it apparently, which kind of annoys me. Like
it doesn't mean anything if you haven't seen the rest of it.
Oh, he was like, no, I thought it was good. It's like, it doesn't matter how good you thought it was if you don't have all the context.
Let's go watch MILF Manor again. Jesus. Rick 1662 has gifted 10 Nerdrotic memberships. Thank you, Rick. We appreciate
That's Pickle Rick to you.
Oh, I'm sorry. It does say I'm Pickle Rick. Yeah, Rick and Morty. I'm the biggest fan of Rick and Morty. Sir Marhouse for $4.99 says, so I guess we're done with the Pact of Ice and Fire. Also, Aegon is really coming to his own here, and I'm starting to really like him. Yeah, I did enjoy him.
I don't know if I'm going that far. I like him more now than I did an episode ago. You know,
he was funny. He was genuinely funny.
A bit more well-rounded. Almost, it feels like a conscious decision to not do Joffrey 2.0.
No.
Well, he's not really Joffrey 2.0.
Well, so I'm specifically referencing the raping and the watching of children battle to the death. You know, like these things were real bad for his character in terms of like, oh god, he's like a hyper monster. But you do get the bits of he wasn't ready for this, he didn't choose this, he feels like destroyed almost by his family name and role. And then
he was never supposed to be this, yeah.
And then, as you highlighted, when he sees that crowd, you can tell something's changing.
Yeah, because I imagine I don't think he's a person that thinks anybody gives a shit about him, because quite frankly, his dad didn't and his mom didn't. So why would anybody else really fucking care about him?
A particularly sad moment in season 1 where he says like, Rhaenyra, my only child, Viserys. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, so like, you know, this is what happens when kids grow up without fathers. Shout out to everyone who made The Acolyte.
Right.
Well, you already have 2 children in that culture, which, like I said, as Az pointed out, it's like that culture's dead. You already got 2 kids. It's going to be gone in like 40 years. That's it.
It's all lesbians. I don't know if I want to check out Grace. Gary, could you please check out Grace's spoiler review? Ugh. Let me guess.
That'd be Grace Randolph.
Why?
Yes.
Well, I'm sure she had some insight, I guess. She's such a wacky character.
She does have some.
What she said in her Mario Brothers review.
Oh my god, her thumbnail is.
I've said before, I kind of like that she reviews stuff because she has a wacky brain. She says all kinds of things you'll never see coming.
Very unpredictable compared to other people who just say the most boring stuff ever.
The fact that she said, like, the actor for Soul, right? Like, that he's going to suffer as of joining Star Wars because everyone hates Star Wars so much. It's like, what are you talking about, woman? Like, people like him. It's the only thing people do like about the show.
Well, I mean, she liked the Acolyte, so.
Oh, did she?
Wow,
did.
she's got the company of like 3 other people worldwide. That's crazy.
All of them are critics.
Shocking.
They did. Somebody pointed out on social media, Gary, that line that Cheese has, where he's like, "I know the walls of the castle better than the shape of my own cock," or whatever the fuck he said. That's a mushroom line from the book. Like directly.
Yeah. And then there's, you know what, mushroom missing does kind of bother me. So that's her thumbnail.
It says, yeah, Cheese knew the Red Keep better than the shape of his own cock. Mushroom tells us.
Sorry, ending explained. What are you talking about, Grace? Ending explained.
Get out of here.
He died. Yeah.
I do want to bring up that, and thank you for the $1.99. Looper went after me and Drinker today in a tweet that I guess lasted just a couple of hours before they deleted it.
Looper has opinions? I thought they just do top 10s or whatever.
That's what I thought too, but actually somebody shared the video with me where they said mine and Drinker's criticism of the Acolyte leads directly to racism and bigotry. Like no qualifying or anything, just directly.
Wake me when there's some real news.
Right. Well, they deleted it. They deleted the tweet. So it's gone now, but we have it. I have it. I'll be sharing that later today.
There's a tweet that says, whenever Damon puts a hoodie on, a crime's about to be committed in the next 10 minutes. Pretty true.
All right. Didn't Looper have something to do with ESPN for a while? God, they had a show or something. It was a long time ago before they sold. Mikey Gussler, what's up, Mikey? For $20. Some people will say that they are disappointed with this episode because it didn't have the violence they thought they were going to get. But I really enjoyed the episode, and I think it was smart picking up where season 1 ended. I enjoyed the episode.
I'll say this. If it ran the way you guys described it, like I said, with the writing, but they maintained the amount of violence, I'd probably be advocating that that's okay. That that they did what they did. Especially because in that version, they would have the horror of the mother a bit more. They still had that, in the scene. I think some people would assume it was not as well captured as possible, her expressions, but I do think that is explained by her being so very, pretty much.
Yeah, they're 100% coding her as autistic.
Well, she's a seer, right, or whatever. She has like a brain that's not even coherent.
She's a dreamer.
She's a dreamer, yeah.
Right,
she's a dreamer. So.
And I think that, for a lot of people that are like, I can't believe that she didn't have as much of a reaction as I would expect to her kid dying. It's like, well, one, she's in shock, and 2, clearly she's autistic. If you haven't been watching the fucking show,
they made that pretty clear.
She's only reacted strangely in scenes. She's never
had a normal reaction ever.
Yeah, the only thing I'll bring up is there's plausible deniability here. MauLer, the younger child, not being in this scene. I have they mentioned the child?
I don't think he's in the show.
I don't think he's in the show. So they either didn't, which is kind of a problem at this point.
Well,
think about it.
Maybe one of the things that they could be setting up is now there is no heir.
Yes, that would change things. But there's an heir in the book, and it's impactful because it's just the way that it's the choice, Mikey. It's like I said before. It's like if you wanted to cut the head off screen the same way, that's fine. Like I have no problem with that. But it was that choice. So they have plausible deniability. They could either, hey, we don't want to add another character, which makes it a succession problem, which does complicate the plot a little bit more. Fine, because they did leave another kid out too. So that they've already left another kid out. So there's that, or they wanted to have, and you know where I'm going with this, Ryan. They wanted to have Helena choose the girl over the boy.
I think she was just like, I don't think that that's what it was. I think that.
Well, I think that's the showrunners, the writer's choice. That's what I'm saying.
Well, maybe. I just think
it's fucking Hollywood. Okay.
Helena is autistic, and is like the idea to lie. I don't even think would like occur to her. Maybe she did try to give him the necklace, but yeah, I don't.
I gotta say goodbye to Garrett because I'm not gonna see him later, brother. Say hi to everybody. Garrett.
It is Pride Month,
everybody.
It is
Hope
Pride.
the show was good.
What's up, Garrett?
It's good. It's good. Go watch it now. Drive safe.
Could he hear us?
No, he couldn't hear you. You can hear you call him making insults at him, but he just assumes it. So he just assumes it. Take it easy, man. Sorry for the interruption, folks. Later, brother. Mikey Gusler for $10 says, I just realized Rhaenyra only has one line in the entire episode. It's amazing that we know how she feels through her acting. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, does she only have one line?
Her only line is
yes.
I want Aemon Targaryen.
Yep, it's good. It's strong. It's a really good choice, and she's doing great. The actress. The scene with the body being found right for the dragon. She did a really good job there as well.
Yep. No, she's nailing it for sure. I almost teared when her son arrived from Winterfell and they both hugged. Yeah, she had a very mom look on her face. Yeah, that was really good.
That was a moving scene.
Yeah,
like especially.
Remember those?
Again, because you get a little bit more of Jace with the understanding that God, he just wants to be like the perfect heir.
He does, yeah.
And he, in a lot of ways, he is. But you're always gonna get emotional for something like that.
And you're gonna root for a family that genuinely likes each other, right? Like that, which you don't see a lot of. That's usually the Starks, right? From Game of Thrones, it was a family that kind of liked each other. So. For the most part. Right. I mean, as well as it can for
well as it can.
Westeros. Pacing felt weird on this one. Jumped around a lot. Shakalaka King for $2.
I don't know.
I felt good with it.
All right. Yeah. That was good.
If anything, I would have thought people would say it just a lot of scenes took their time, which I certainly wouldn't describe as jumped around.
Yeah, I would say this was more plotting than anything, but not in a bad way. Like
I'm fine with it. It'll certainly be as Dragon, as Ryan pointed out. The episode, certainly once we see the whole season, I'll have a better way of contextualizing what they achieved in episode 1. I feel this way about a lot of seasons of TV. I need to see how it fits with the rest of the puzzle, but it's not like we can't judge of what happened in this episode, of course.
And we will.
Shows that are well written end up paying it off really well, like we saw with season 1.
Yes.
Yeah, it was almost surprising how much when you rewatch season 1, you're like, oh shit, they set all of this shit up. It's all over the place.
Rewatching season 1 with the knowledge of what happens, it's that much better because you do realize how much work they put in those early episodes, taking their times with these different character interactions. And one thing I also noticed from the first season, there's virtually no dialogue or interactions between characters that is meaningless. Almost all of it, almost everything that they use does matter and does play a part at some point in time down the road for the season, which is, God, after watching the fucking Acolyte.
Where almost every line is either useless or contradictory. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it just stands out so much.
Luca Purdy for 24 Rons and 99 cents. So MauLer isn't canon. Does that mean that Aegon is without an heir? Pretty big fuck up on the show, unless I don't think they would just leave him without an heir. Like they can have, it'd be tough. But I mean,
maybe he exists. We just haven't seen him. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
That has to get brought up, and I think it will. Maybe HBO didn't allow them to have a real blood and cheese. I'm thinking producer notes came down on him pretty hard on that one.
Obviously, whatever's being alluded to, which I'm happy that we don't know anything about the future events regarding a character that might not be here. I would just say that it will have a full picture once the season's out of probably we'll be able to see what they were planning and whether or not it was any good decision.
So in the opening season, in the opening credits of season 1, MauLer does appear in terms of when they're doing the bloodline thing, showing one of the fingers of blood would be MauLer. So he's got to be somewhere, even though we haven't seen an actor on screen for him.
Yep. Otherwise, you just make Aemon the heir.
Which would that would be the case, right?
Yep.
If Aegon didn't have any male heirs, the next in line would be Aemond.
Yep. It was definitely a rat, but was it a good rat? Well, you decide.
Yeah.
Slowly chopped a kid's head off.
It wasn't. I'm just trying to remember. You know the sort of nursery scene with when Aegon was looking for his heir specifically. I thought there were 2 kids in the room at that point. Were there not?
I think there were. To be honest with you, I can go back and check.
There was a little baby, wasn't there?
Yeah, there
I could have
was.
sworn there was 2 kids, and the Aegon checked on one of them. I just can't remember.
And to be fair, it's Targaryen kids. Yeah.
Yeah, the twins are Jaehaerys and Jaehaera. So if there was another like younger baby in there, then it would have to be MauLer.
It would have to be. Yeah, I mean, we just missed it.
The fucking names in this goddamn
dude, I find it hard enough, and then when I've got like friends who've not even been prepared for this by watching all of Game of Thrones, I'm like, yeah, don't worry if you just identify them by other characteristics if you want.
Wait till you get to the Tullys, man. With with Grover, they're all named after Elmo and Grover. Fucking Sesame Street characters.
Oscar Tully.
Oscar Tully. Yeah, it's
Cookie Monster Tully was a little on the nose for me, but yeah.
The Desi Thinker for $20 is 7 out of 10 episode. Blood and Cheese story was way more shocking and violent in the books, and turning Cole into Allison Eater. It's very strange choice. Actually, I suspected that anyway.
I thought, yeah, same.
There was some like all of a sudden they're very close, right?
Yeah,
something
really
goes wrong
close.
with him and Rhaenyra, all of a sudden they're very close.
Well,
so there's hints to it.
It shores up somewhat the episode 9 reaction from Alicent, the fact that she, after what happens with Kristen Cole, she elevates him to Lord Commander. He'd be like, really? And it's like, yes, that's how much, that's how close they are. That's how much she needs him. I'm still not a fan of what he did with Beesbury, but it's, we'll get over it.
Yeah, what happened to Sir Westerling?
That's a good question, because that's a change from the book. In the book, he dies, and Kristen Cole becomes Lord Commander of the Night's Watch before Viserys dies. So the fact that they had him exit the way he did, you have to wonder if he's going to show up somehow on Rhaenyra's side,
like Barristan. Yeah, like in a later season or something.
Let's hope they don't fuck it up like they did with Barristan.
And McTavish is a great actor, though. So
maybe that's why they just want to kill off McTavish.
Yeah.
Don't put McTavish in an alley where a bunch of Randys kill him, please.
He could leave the Witcher show and come back to this one. It'd be fine. I like the episode, but overall, it feels like they are making some wrong choices. We'll find out. Thank you for the $20. The Lord J for $10. Is Cole Hispanic? Seemed to really be enjoying the fish taco. I mean, some people love fish tacos.
Be a cook, I would too.
There you go. Wait, I have my soundboard.
Thank God.
Soundboard. Super for $5 Australian. The best part was when Rhaenyra girl bossed into the camera and said, "The cheese is always right." Good old, hey, Rings of Power. Not that far away, guys. Not that far away.
Stay away.
Shorty Short for $1.99. I like them making Aegon the second more likable and realistic. Likable, but funny. Like a bad likable, yes.
Yeah, I can concede because I do like him more than I did, but I'm waiting to decide what I think of him as a person. I need more stuff.
Even seeing like the first interaction you had when he was looking for Jaehaerys, and even though Helena did her like weirdo shit, he was like a little more patient with her. You know what I mean? Like he didn't just like fly off the handle and hit her in the face or some shit.
That was
like you would have imagined he would have done last season.
That was actually a pretty good comedy beat. The season 1 had plenty of moments where she says weird lines, and it's more so for the audience to be like, what the fuck? Or one other person. But in that scene where it's like, where, the children, it's like, I'm feared. He's like, well, we got Vhagar, the dragons, we'll be fine. And she's like, no, the rats. And he looks around the room and everyone's like, what?
What the fuck?
Yes, everyone's like, who is this and what's wrong with her.
Openly understood as she is weird. But that's okay. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
The boss Havoc says, Hail, I'd give the episode 7 out of 10, but Blood and Cheese was so lame. The book fans are going to be mad about this, Ryan. They are.
Well, book fans and also everybody that we talked to about it and hyped
I
it
know.
up.
Like, it's our fault, actually. We built it up too much.
I think there will be a significant amount of people that will be happy with it, but it reminds me, actually, it's not the same, but it reminds me of Tywin's death, where I had a lot of people who, and I assume you guys are kind of in this position, will be like, no, it did work. I just took a couple of issues, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, so the book does this. And then they go, oh, wow, that makes so much more sense. You're like, yeah, it does.
Yeah, I think normal people are still going to be kind of freaked out and disturbed by it. Plus, right after that dog took a kick, people are already spiraling.
Yep. They've sworn off the show now. It's too late.
Kristen Cole was eating up the pea like chicken chow mein, says Viking Beach Bum for $5. I guess that's part of the conversation. Thank you very much for the $5. Tweed Tone for $1.99. Blood and Cheese was done horribly. No MauLer. The rest was okay. That's going to be the talk. When it should have been, holy fuck, Blood and Cheese. That's all it should have been.
It's a missed opportunity.
Yep.
And a good show.
I enjoyed this episode, says Rayston Magier. Is that Magier? I'm going to pretend it's French. I did too. I watched it with MauLer and Fringy. And none of us were going, this fucking sucks. Like we were, or I was with Acolyte.
We had some snide comments here and there, some fun comments, and then some scenes where we were just silent because we were like, damn, that was good.
Yep. Well, when Damon points out to Rainey's, like, you had the chance to end this and you didn't. And she couldn't say anything, but then she got that last, if he'd have just shut up right there, he'd have won the argument, but he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I order you
to
get on the dragon.
I almost wish there was more of a, like, you're on thin ice. Like, you have Maelys. That's why I like you, okay? But your decisions have been fucking questionable.
Yep.
Well, Rainey's is still fairly convinced that Damon played a part in killing her.
Of course, I recognize that.
Also, probably holds him responsible for the death of her daughter as well.
I hope, this is what I mean, I hope we use it. I hope we use all of this stuff.
He's not at fault for that. That's the one thing that's unfair. Yeah.
But
you're right.
Only in the sense that he is responsible for them going to Pentos and dying away from everybody.
I don't think
taking her away from the family for so long and shit like that.
If the truth were revealed, I don't think she then becomes happy. She'll be happy that her son's alive, but she'll be pretty fucked off that it's like, so what the hell was that? Like, what? You've let me believe for years that my son was dead.
Mm-hmm. And then even then, she'll never see him again. So,
Yeah.
And Damon's fucking pissy because he's been trying to tell all these motherfuckers what they need to do and they won't listen. Like,
oh yeah, dude, they captured that brilliantly with the this, we need to do this, laid out this, we got this, and then she says, "Get me Aemon Targaryen." He's like, okay, but like we've got other stuff too. But
he's got a really sound plan. Like as far as like, he's irrational. He's a Targaryen supremacist, but the dude knows how to fight and win by any means necessary. He's very Tywin in that way. So like, he's got a very sound plan. They're just, he's earned his bad rap, but he's why he became so popular in season 1, which was, I guess, a mystery to Ryan Condell, is he was a really complex character. That means engaging. It doesn't necessarily mean likable in the most likable sense. Plus, people like Matt Smith.
Multiple dimensions, good actor, assertive character. He has a cool dragon. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He does have a cool dragon.
And he's got things to do. We'll just say that. Kinky Sphincter for $1.99. Power of 1, power of 2, the power of many. God dang. Chris was talking about all the other stuff, and he didn't tell us about the singing, like the musical part. Like Gore, like how could you leave that part out?
Dude, the cringiest part for me was when all the women went, at her, and she went
That
like,
was really.
"Oh." It's like, oh,
It was
That was
so
some-
embarrassing.
That was some interpretive dance UC Berkeley shit right there. I was like, what the fuck was that?
Did you see the EFAB for that? All of us are just like,
I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know if someone on set wasn't brave enough to say that this is cringe, but
Dude, the next day, the composer comes out and they release a single, and it's not a
What?
joke.
Wait, you're taking the piss, right?
No, like they released it. Like, we're really
Oh
proud
my
of this.
oh.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny. Jim Watari is gifted 10 Nerdrotic memberships. Thank you, Jim. We appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Dresden McCool has given us a 10 Australian dollars super sticker. Some shad dollars there. Do you have emus on your money?
We do. It depends on which coin you're talking about, though. We have different ones. So, like, there's a platypus now 20-cent coin. I think there's an echidna on one of them. I seriously forgotten like what. But yeah, we got them on there. We got kangaroo on our coin.
There you go. Abigor, who's been a member for 37 months. Thank you. Storytelling brilliant. Performances brilliant, production value brilliant, yet another continued display of masterwork that only HBO can produce because they've been producing this type of show for a long fucking time, and it shows.
They know how to make television shows.
Yep.
Know how to do it.
It should absolutely be said. This is some really strong TV, but I don't want to give it full marks.
No, I don't think this is like a 10 out of 10 episode or anything like that.
No.
It's a good episode.
But I hope that like the second season or like the first season, 8 weeks from now, when we look back at this episode, we might look back at it even better than we did now because some of the things they were setting up.
Oh, I certainly hope for that rather than the reverse, which often happens with bad shows, right? We go, God, episode 1 he makes even less sense, or blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Mechator for €5 says, "Did you think the showrunners decided to remove MauLer, which we think MauLer's in it now? I have to go back and look. We only watched it once."
So I just went back to the sequence where Aegon is looking for him, and he checks, and it's the other twin, Jaehaera. I'm pretty sure.
Is there only one kid in that room?
I believe so. As
Okay.
I'm like scrolling through, but
yeah, leaving him out
one kid in there
is it's either a problem or it's added to the show, and I got to give them credit. They have made stuff that I found highly questionable work really well within the show, including the race swapping of the Valerians.
I know, right?
Yeah, that was actually kind of a genius move. So from the whole story, since he wasn't present in the major event of this episode, yeah, I would guess if he wasn't in that scene, then he's not there. But
they did include him in the opening credits bloodline thing in the first season.
Yes.
So
I think next episode should secure whether or not he's in it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll find out. Kyle Vernon for $9.99. Battle planning, economics, leadership, and assassination, all in an episode. It was great for people who are paying attention. Season 5 is when they forgot about economics. True. Season 8, they forgot about ships.
Oh yeah. Like the Game of Thrones, it just deteriorated. They just didn't care anymore. They were just getting through the payoffs until they could end it.
No, like
which is funny because all of those things lead to really meaningful payoffs. We need to know about this stuff because it's going to have an effect.
Dude, Cersei in the main show blowing off the Iron Bank was so stupid in the show, but it's got major ramifications in the books. That lasts to the very last chapter.
Dude, especially because of the scene with Tywin explaining the importance of the Iron Bank. And then once he's out of the show, the Iron Bank are a joke. They just get taken advantage of by everybody.
And they're the scary thing that nobody wants to fuck with, not even kings, right? Or
you wouldn't get that impression with how they eventually do it, yeah.
Ryan, the sea is always right, says Eric K. Ryan agrees. Carrie Buff for $10. The answer: who makes the nukes? That is one of the things the U.S. military still keeps in-house. The DoD and the Department of Energy work together on nuclear research and construction. So we don't know. Okay, well, that's probably why I don't know. Thank you.
I imagine those other places build delivery systems for them.
Yeah, it's probably compartmentalized, and they just put it together. It's different companies. Matt Murphy for $4.99 and Game of Thrones. Tywin and Bolton both made Harrenhal their base. Littlefinger was made Lord and never was seen there. Yes, and it's also
for sure. I don't expect Laris to be there. I just assume that he would have commentary on its position in the war and what's going to happen to it.
And Harrenhal historically is known to be cursed.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's what everyone's feeling about it is, for good reason.
And I love Damon's commentary of the High Towers would exploit the curse for all of they could gain in relation to the Strongs. It's like, yeah.
Yep. Jeremy is gay, has gifted one Nerdrotic membership. Thank you very much. And Jeremy is definitely gay. Handshot last for $4.99. I really like how Aegon is trying to make up for Viserys ignoring him his whole life and giving Jaehaerys attention and making him an obvious heir. See, that's the one thing like Joffrey wouldn't have done, is like giving a shit about his kid.
This is what I mean. It's always going to be dependent on what they did next. Like Joffrey got, what was it, like 2.5 seasons? And he was pretty static, and I mean he only really got worse with the more power he got. Aegon, they're clearly up to something, and I'm curious what it is exactly, because he seemed to be a relatively absentee father from what we judged of season 1, but they even gave us small scenes of stuff in season 2 that I'm like, oh, okay, we'll see where this goes, see what they're telling us about him.
Michael Green for $9.99. Fine episode, but really wanted to see the Greens' reaction to Aemon telling them, I agree, he killed Luke in the book, and Alicent and Otto telling him, how could you be so blind? I don't know why they didn't do that. Yeah, they actually have that. There are like little pieces of dialogue within Fire and Blood that they definitely could have used, and they didn't. So
it's just always it's generally worthwhile to see reactions to things. It's just, just kind of an easy shortcut to character and drama.
Character death specifically, usually it's just drama. It's waiting for you.
This was why we didn't get to see Luke react to Han's death. It's just an obvious mistake.
Yep.
That one's inexcusable. That would be like not showing Rhaenyra.
The thing is that there's like a world where, again, if they want to rely on the mystery of what did he actually tell them, what do they believe that what did Aemond, what does everybody think he did, or did he make a mistake? There's something there that they could work with.
Riker's beard for $10. Alicent scrubbing the same spot over and over again reminded me in season 1 with her picking at her fingernails. Yeah.
Yep. They did on the rewatch. There's a couple times like she picks her fingernails to the point of bleeding, like as a
Otto highlights it. He's like, you're the most comely lady at court. You're ruining yourself.
Self-harm. She's goth. Raider 03 has gifted 10 Nerdrotic memberships. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Raider.
Thank you, Raider. Rusty Shackleford for $5. The Greybeards are already on the march. Seems like they took their Game of Thrones fast travel criticism to heart. Yes, absolutely. That might be why they mentioned that so early, because it's going to take them a minute to get south. Right.
Well, so that's actually what I was thinking about. Sorry to interrupt. I just mean that, a bit of a logistical issue I was considering was Jacaerys getting the information that his brother had died while at Winterfell. That actually gives us a sort of timeline in terms of it would have taken some time for him to get to Winterfell, which does, for me, make it a bit smoother for how long it took to discover that Luke had died.
Yeah.
Because it seemed pretty quick. And then I was like, well, maybe it wasn't actually, because that would have taken some time to get into the wall with the dragon, even, and he pit stopped the Eyrie, right?
Yeah, he stopped at the Eyrie, and then that went pretty quick. Then he went on to Winterfell. So how long did it take for them to get? I want to know who sent word to Rhaenyra. Was it Baratheon?
Presumably. And they must have found, because what they found wasn't what we saw in this episode, right? They found something else, presumably, and then that washed up too. They need evidence, so this having happened.
It's funny because in the book, people witnessed the fight.
Yeah, people witnessed
really?
it.
Okay.
Yes.
Now it was like they people couldn't really tell what happened. All right, they see a fireball, they hear dragon screeching,
and they never find a body.
Next thing you know, and then you do it right. He never shows up again. And then it's like, wow. I mean, I guess we know what happened. I suppose.
Well, and then like they just see kind of you see his dragon fall out of the sky. Right?
Oh, okay.
You know, but they don't know exactly how the fight started and stuff like that. But I don't know who would have notified Rhaenyra on Dragonstone about it.
Somebody's maester. And yeah, again, they didn't find a body in the book. They find pieces of dragon. That's it. So,
which I think all they found in this one was his cloak and a dragon wing.
Yeah.
At least that I could tell. I didn't see them have a body there.
You see that cloak falling too. Nice detail at the end, and that was pretty good.
But they're lucky that Vhagar isn't bigger and just ate the entire thing in one bite, and it was just no evidence.
It missed a couple little morsels.
So fucking awesome.
It was so good.
The shot is great of the Vhagar coming up. Just boom.
Oh, that one flash of the lightning, and you see the shadow.
Oh
fuck, that's so good.
Was just awesome.
Yeah, because we talked about when it happened. Not to repeat anything, it's just that they're not very explicit with the nature of the emotional state of both dragons, but you get it. You get the whole thing of how it falls apart.
And I think that's one thing they're going to dive into more in this season. They did it a lot last season, but the idea that the dragons, that there is that bond between dragon and dragon rider. We saw it when Daemon got hit with an arrow in episode 3 and Caraxes starts screaming. We saw it when Rhaenyra was in childbirth, what Syrax was doing. And one of the things that makes it even more interesting when you see Syrax on the beach with Rhaenyra in this episode is I believe that Lucerys's dragon was actually hatched from one of Syrax's eggs. So you have two mothers mourning their children at the same time on that beach.
Yep.
And they're both, you can see Syrax in mourning. Now, whether it's just because of how Rhaenyra feels or because of the connection that she had with the other dragon, I don't fucking know. But
Eric says, I agree with Jay. I don't. Jeff Atkins for $10 says, on the subject of Alicent, a wise man recently said that good cat tastes like the heat coming out of the back of a PS3. Okay. I don't even know what that means, but that must be some youngster internet stuff that I'm just too old to understand. So
why would someone just be like, I want to see what my PlayStation 3 smells like when it's running? Seems like a peculiar thing to do.
Let alone taste it.
Yeah.
I mean, when you smell something, you do taste it a little bit, you know?
Yeah. Right. Don't taste it while it's running. That's not good. Apax Calibre for $1.99 says, Helena willingly abandoning her son Lame. I think it's really in character for her. Like she knew it was dead.
And also, if she did anything else, it would have fucking killed her.
Yep. She was trying to save her other kid. Winner of the episode was my dog, Kristen Cole, for getting the queen on his daily diet. Yes. Big E.
I wish she would have turned around in that other scene. The last sequence.
Oh,
should have had her doing reverse cowgirl. That's my biggest criticism of the show.
There is 7 more episodes, Ryan, and that is obviously not the last time they're going to do this. So as soon as she said that, it's like, yeah. Jane Theory for $10. What's up? Jane is back. Ladies and gentlemen, just in the chat, though.
Hello.
Jane. Hi, Jane. What's up? We shall get wins a winner in 2024. I'm calling it now. Ever the optimist, Jane. And I read
that. I was like, oh, you get World of Warcraft in 2024. I thought that's been out for 20 years.
Jane, I'm not going to rain in your parade.
You sure Jane didn't mean to type 2124?
She might have.
So you basically believe there's no chance of those books ever coming out then?
No chance.
You don't think Wins will come out?
Nope.
He's just so resigned to his fate.
Out of curiosity, if it did, would you be like, holy shit, it actually came out?
I would dedicate my channel to it and I'd do chapter reviews. Hell yeah. I would.
I'm going to hold you to that.
I will. I fucking will. I promised that like when I started the channel when he was still writing it. That's how long he's been writing the book. All right. My channel is like started after A Dance with Dragons. By the way, it's been 4,724 days since the release of A Dance with Dragons.
So
4,000.
Couple months, few weeks.
Couple months. Let me put it in perspective. When we hit the next election, it'll be the 4th presidential election since A Dance of Dragons came out. Well, it will be on our fourth president. So it was Obama, and then Trump, and then Biden, and then Trump again. This year. So that'll be 4 different elections, right? 4 different presidents. That's a long fucking time. It's a long time. How long did it take? Was it the Sistine Chapel, Ryan?
4 years. Took 4 years for Michelangelo to do the Sistine Chapel.
4 years.
Yeah, but I mean, he took weekends off, so
yeah. He also didn't have TV shows, Ryan. Okay.
Yeah. he wasn't writing a video game, Ryan. You don't appreciate these things.
Yeah. What did they do for fun back then?
Live.
right. They rode their dragons.
Found a meal. Fucking.
You can only masturbate so much, like what do you do in your spare time?
Didn't die of dysentery today. It's a good day.
That's a win.
It's a win. It has been 835 days since George R. R. MauLer has released. Oh, my God! No, TFA Part 4. Oh no!
Oh,
wait, what's funny is TFA Part 5. 4 is out.
Oh, get it right.
Gosh,
I meant Part 5. 835 days. That's
is that right?
So that'd be 2.5 years.
2.5 years. Yeah,
it's too specific. It must be right.
Have to be right.
They would lie.
They wouldn't lie on the internet.
That's how much time I spent in prison. My sentence was longer, but that's how much time I actually spent. Just saying, time flies. Rye, the guy
when you're scared for your life every day.
Oh yeah, right. Again, it's like, hey, I'm alive today. I didn't get stuck with some sharpened toothbrush. It's a good day. We need justice for the dog that got kicked, says Rye the guy for $5. Well, I'm not going to say anything. Lord Jacob of House Babrick for $5. Hail, I just lost my younger brother. Oh no, this January at 30. So it hit really hard when Jaseri's voice broke. I won't lie. I almost broke down. I'm sorry that you lost your brother. It was a good scene.
It's one of those,
yeah.
It was.
I was trying to say earlier, it did catch me, that scene. I was like, oh, this is actually really effective. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I was like emotional watching that. It plucks a heartstring.
I'm sorry to hear about your brother as well.
Yeah. 30. Ugh. MauLer, Otto's actor, is Ray's OnlyFans, right? Says Riker's Beard for $2. It's Rise OnlyFans. Okay, get it right.
Reese. I beg you.
How do you say his last name?
Ifans.
Reese Fons.
Reese Fons.
Why the fuck don't they spell it like that?
Dude, he's going to be in Venom 3.
It's like
yes,
it's like a hippie or something, right?
Well, he's supposed to be Lizard.
I don't know what they're doing, but I mean,
no, he's not supposed to be a lizard, is he?
Well, he's obviously.
Is he going to play another character?
Venom is directly connected to Spider-Man. They've got to be having a lizard reference in there. At least.
Presumably, but remember, it could just be as stupid as, "Hey, look at my pet gecko! Isn't he cool?" Anyway, that could be it.
Totally, dude.
There people are saying that he will be reprising Kirk Connors. I thought they weren't gonna fucking do that. How can they do that?
Oh, I think they're fucking with Marvel right now. There's no deal. They haven't announced Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland.
That's true.
There's
true. It's been
nothing,
a long time.
because the last one was the last movie in their deal. I think they're allowed to loan each other a character in one more, but as far as making movies, the next one was supposed to be all Sony.
Well, yeah, because wasn't something that caused problems initially when it was temporarily rocky, was that they wanted, Disney wanted more money. They wanted to be more involved in budget, but they also wanted more money, right?
They wanted more money because Sony made a lot of fucking money.
It's kind of a problem that Marvel has at the moment, is that they've kind of destroyed the profitability for most of their stuff to where isn't it funny that at this point, Marvel is really counting on Fox X-Men to make the money when 5 years ago they wanted to pretend it didn't exist, look down on it completely.
It's justice, irony, all this other shit.
Yeah.
It's fucking funny. That's what it is.
It's hilarious. It is.
Really, and then when they go back to their old stuff, oh God, I saw that poster with Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk, and it's just, oh God.
Well, yeah, Captain America 4 seems doomed.
Isn't the black guy in the Venom trailer also in MCU stuff.
Yeah, Chiwetel Ejiofor. Yeah, he played Mordo.
Mordo,
Yeah.
But he won't be Mordo in that. Yeah,
probably no.
So I don't think either of them are going to be reprising those.
I couldn't believe he was in that movie. I'm like, he's a good well, so is Tom Hardy. I'm like, these are good actors. Like, what are you fucking doing in this shit?
It is like it makes money. The Venoms,
they do.
Venom movies make money. That's right.
Disney needs to hire forensic accountants and find out what the fudge they're spending $20 million on. Juan Weedman says for $4.99. Yeah, there's crime going on at Disney, in my opinion. People say money laundering. Sure. So the Night King is sleeping right now. Apex Caliber for $199. Yeah, the Night King, the fucking Night King. Yes, he's napping for 10,000
cozy in
years.
his little bed with a little teddy bear wrapped like in his arms.
Well, we technically don't know how long ago the last night was. The Maesters said it was between 10 and 8,000 years. It could have been 5. We don't know.
And ironically, one of the most painful fucking scenes in House of Dragon season 1 when he describes the plot of Game of Thrones.
I do feel quite bad for you because I just sit here like, oh yeah, I mean that must suck for you guys.
Eric says Jeremy is Team Rainbow. Jeremy catching strays on the stream, but he deserves them. Thanks for doing this again. Love the coverage, says Anti-Flop for $199. It is our pleasure to talk about something good. Believe me. I've been looking forward to this all year. This is the one thing I was looking forward to the most all year, especially now that I hear War of the Rohirrim is going to be a girl boss story, and just killed all my excitement for it. You want a movie about Helm Hammerhand? How about his daughter instead? Fuck! God damn it! Sorry. Half the people don't even know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. It's Aragorn. He's from the Lord of the Rings.
You'll hear his name mentioned in Lord of the Rings. You'll hear it. Okay. But you won't.
What do you think about
Hera's
him
name?
saying? What do you think about him saying he might be willing to come back and reprise character?
Oh, Ian McKellen,
Vigo.
No. I don't. You know what? I don't want Peter Jackson coming back because I am right now witnessing Russell T Davies coming back to Doctor Who, and it is the stuff of nightmares.
Dude, did you see the Sutek stuff?
Oh, God.
Fringy saw it.
the Harbinger bit.
Dude, what is Harriet's full name? Oh no, it's Harriet Harbinger.
Harriet Harbinger.
And then the letters disappear just in case you didn't get it.
It was like Mordor. It was like it reminded me of the Mordor reveal. It was that fucking.
Oh yeah, you're right. It has that same energy.
Oh god,
absolutely. You know what? That's actually maybe the better comparison right now because I saw that closer to this of just the writing of that whole episode. I don't know if you've seen it, Gary. I assume you did.
Yes.
The whole thing was incoherent nonsense, just constant bullshit. They had loads of techno fantasy and space jargon constantly. Nobody knew what was happening. None of those actors understood a thing.
No,
they were just saying
the big sense that the actors were just like, oh, I'm sure it'll all make sense in the end. But like at the time, they just kind of look like they're awkwardly standing around.
All of it designed to keep you in the fucking waiting room until they tell you who the bad guy is that they bring him back.
Exactly. Yeah, big for a shortened season. But like just to sum it up, because we are talking about a good show here, is House of the Dragon like humiliates anybody involved, including Russell T Davies and anybody involved in the Acolyte, lesbian headlamp. Like none of them should be working. Like none. Like this 7 out of 10 episode is so much further along in complexity and talent and production value and everything. It embarrasses the fuck out of the 2 very expensive shows Disney are producing right now. And believe me, people in Hollywood actually recognize that, you know, that like they'll politically align with people or whatever, but behind the scenes, they're like, good God, man, this is fucking bad. And then you put out House of the Dragon, which is not an easy show to make. You're talking about, that's mostly it's a political show. I know like people get really caught up in the dragon stuff, and that's what happened. That was what happened to season 8 towards the end. But the reason we all liked it in the beginning was the dialogue, the characters, and the political intrigue.
Dude, season 1 didn't have the budget to blow you away with special effects. They had to get you in with characters and intrigue, of political intrigue. It was, and it's really good.
It's really good. Dude, Littlefinger and Varys talking were some of my favorite scenes in the early season, because it was like God and the devil, like just parsing out Westeros, you know, and like it was so fucking good.
The greatest scene in House of the Dragon season 1 is an old man walking across a big room.
Yeah, it ain't a dragon.
Not a dragon. Although Vhagar is pretty fucking awesome.
Well, I was actually going to say, this does not mean that I don't want more dragon stuff. I love it. I'm just saying.
You said it like butt stuff. I want dragon stuff. George just say F it and make John King fuck Bran. Well, maybe that's what he's doing in a book that he'll never finish.
I think John becoming king is like the least likely thing to happen.
The thing I always want to say to him, just because everyone sees that being the obvious ending does not mean you shouldn't do it. It's like, try and have some, you know, understanding of the universe that that's a possibility. Obviously, I'm saying this knowing that a lot of things could be in place that would prevent it in the books. Well, I mean,
for example, we can't get too far ahead. So Bran does sit the throne. Ryan, the ending of I'm in agreement with you, and we said it at the time, and the actual ending of season 8 is the ending of the books.
I can totally buy that.
Big plot points are 1,000%.
Jon gets exiled. Bran sits the throne. But is it Bran? Are we sure? Because we have.
Well, not only that, how do they execute every single fucking scene and line of dialogue leading up to it is so important.
Yes,
because if he gave the broad footnotes to D&D and then they lazily adapted that, that's going to be entirely different than someone who's planning it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. And there's also like the idea that we talked about this last Sunday, the idea that Daenerys just fucking freaks out the way she did in burn King's Landing down. I think there's going to be much different reasons. There's a completely different character in the book who's supposedly actually Aegon Targaryen, who everyone thought was dead, who a lot of people speculate is actually not really Aegon Targaryen, but fake. They call him Phaegon. But it would make a lot more sense for Daenerys to do everything she's done, go through all this shit, lose everything, only for the people of King's Landing to then celebrate as this other person takes what she feels was hers. Because they're not going to do that for Cersei. People don't give a fuck about Cersei. It's not going to celebrate her. But if she does see all of King's Landing, like, you know, in the streets and happy and excited that another Targaryen's finally going to sit the Iron Throne, I could see her fucking having a meltdown over that.
Yeah, and what George is setting up is, while this death is coming from the north, Westeros is not going to unite. That's the last thing they're going to do. They're going to be fighting until like the zombies are there. Like that's what he's setting up. Like we're going to have another supposed Targaryen civil war in the middle of like the apocalypse, right? And that's why it's a possibility that Bran, being the three-eyed raven, like he in the show, they just made him empty and downloaded, right? But he might in the book, it's a possibility that, you know, Bloodraven just takes over his body. That's what he's setting him up for. It's kind of taking the wizard, you know, taking his pupil, and he just takes over his pupil instead of training him and dying. So like that, I mean, that's one of the things that could happen, and it would be crazy. But it would be for the good of the realm to stop the others. And I don't think the others get defeated. I think there's a pact. I think there's some kind of pact that sends them off again. I don't think they get completely wiped out. And I think those children of the forest are evil little bastards. Had enough time to think about people. This. I don't trust short people, especially ones that look like deer. It was good, but you guys wildly oversold Blood and Cheese. Sorry, Frank.
We didn't.
Well, no, you didn't. You described reality. You know, like that's all you could do.
It was better in the book, and for the most part, the show was better than the book, but just not in this case. In the book, Helena offers herself instead. She does, Luke,
but not like immediately or anything.
No.
This is what I mean. Like, it's I can get better judgment on that scene once we see everything as it rolls out, because they may be doing something. You just gotta give them a chance to see if it goes anywhere, and then we can be like, okay, so they could have done this, and it would have been better. Definitively, I still think mistakes were made, though.
Yep. Mr. Grant Gregory, what's up, brother? Got a lot, man. 500,000 subs. Fucking A. Helena not choosing changes her character's fate. It does, maybe. But I'm going to give Ryan Condell credit because he has changed things in the book and they really made sense for the most part in the series. And remember, nothing is definitive in the book. Absolutely nothing. We are hearing it from 3 unreliable sources.
Correct.
Kristen Cole was supposed to be watching the door, but he was busy. That part made sense.
That's what I mean. Like, it's no doubt.
I don't agree.
The thing is, why wouldn't you lock the door?
They're both adults. Okay. They realize if they're fucking, someone can open that door easily, and their castle's filled with all kinds of people that could just burst in and be like, "Oh,
people could be careless."
I was getting the chamber pot.
Yeah. And I just, that level of carelessness, I think, is not quite what I believe about Allison, and to be honest with you, Kristen Cole as well. Yeah. Like I said, just a chair against the door so that anyone goes, "Hey, excuse me," they go, "Oh, blah, 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 Jesus."
Yeah, if Otto walked in. Yeah. Great start to the season, not a single wasted scene, says Lucifer the Doberman. Been a member for 4 months. Thank you very much. No, they don't fuck around in this show. They don't. Well, I mean, they do, but they don't. 12-cent Ronin for $5. The Queen said she was worried about the rats. Maybe her sight prepared her for the choice. That's not how dreaming works.
I will say, if you watching it, it did feel like there was something about the way she was portraying the character, obviously the actress, that we were supposed to maybe grasp something was happening beyond that of a normal person's mode of thinking. I don't know if there'll be more on that as we go.
We heard in the first season, she said the beast beneath the boards.
Yep.
Yeah.
This season, the scene with Aegon, she talks about the rats. Like, she obviously felt something was going. And the way like you said, Gary, the way the dreams work, it's not like you're not watching a PowerPoint of things that are going to happen. You get feelings and intuition, and sometimes the symbols don't exactly mean what you thought it meant in the first place, which is how dreamers can go so wrong trying to chase those dreams because they interpret that it's something that it really wasn't.
Yeah, Marwyn the Mage says it best in the Wins a Winner, the very last Song of Ice and Fire book that we'll ever get. Prophecy is like getting a blowjob from a whore, and then she bites your dick off. That's pretty much what prophecy is. And it's a dream. It's a dream. So you remember it like a dream. It's like disjointed and you're not sure. And the one cool thing about A Song of Ice and Fire is the magic's earned and it comes at a great cost. Usually somebody dies, somebody innocent dies when they practice magic. It takes a toll on your body. When they bring people back from the dead, their soul slowly leaves their body.
Death has consequences.
It has consequences.
Which is why John's not just going to be himself, but with holes.
No. He'll probably be a fire white, which means he'll be kind of there.
And there's a good chance that he does want it.
Yes.
At least when it comes to the North.
Yes, he absolutely does want it. He's bound to his, he's torn. That's why he's a good, conflict of the heart. That's what George writes about. Conflict of the heart. That's at the core of everything he does.
John's not this just like so straight and narrow. I do the right thing all the fucking time because I'm honorable, like my surrogate father, Ned Stark. Like, that's not how John is.
A wildling. He fucked a wildling and fell in love with her. As he broke his vows to the Night's Watch.
Way more than that, though. He swaps the babies. He fucking very much helps Stannis, like he should not with the current situation at hand.
Arranges a marriage that he shouldn't have arranged with Karstark. Fucks with their house. Like big time.
And he very much wants to. He feels that he does really feel that pull to want to become. To be legitimized and be the Stark of Winterfell.
He marries a Karstark to a fucking wildling, a Thenn, which is like the fucking North. I mean, it's bad. All right, I was gonna make a horrible analogy, but it's probably too horrible for this show. Probably more appropriate for Friday Night Tights. It's like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Okay. To the north. Aegon the second already has more to him in one episode than he did all of last season. Favorite scene was Jace trying to report to the queen through his grief. Yeah, that was a good scene.
That might be my favorite scene of the episode.
Yep.
It's really good.
I agree. Thank you, Default. Ringy, not Fringy. 542 for €2. MauLer is on a mission to spoil the show. MauLer is just pointing.
I can't. I don't even know what happens.
And to be fair, neither can we, because even when we do think things are going to happen, we've shown it's not necessarily always going to happen. That way.
There's things that completely surprised me in this show in a good way, So, I mean, as soon as I saw that head between the legs, I knew who it was, but I'm all, okay, there it is. Kind of suspected that, but there it is. English Bob, Unforgiven. Well, there's a dignity royalty. There's a dignity royalty, a majesty that precludes the likelihood.
Do you want me to read it? I can do it. Give him the Richard Harris voice, right? It's like, well, there's a dignity in royalty, a majesty that precludes the likelihood of assassination. If you were to point a pistol at a king or a queen, your hands would shake as though palsied. It's when he's talking about why presidents get assassinated, but kings and queens don't. I quite like him. And Unforgiven's a fucking bitchin' film. Everyone should see it.
Damn good movie. Damn good movie. I just watched Pale Rider the other day. It was on it was for rent, but it was on YouTube, for $2. Like, phew, let's go. Kyle Vernon for $4.99. Show was better. Blood and Cheese are there for money, not for weird games. The book was more dramatic, sure, but it's tacked on by George like a soap opera. Yeah. And remember, this whole Dance of Dragons, Targaryen Civil War has been rewritten. Jane will know. She's our next super chat. It's short stories like Dangerous Women, The Rogue Prince, kind of mixed up and then rewritten for Fire and Blood, re-edited and changed many times. So
I think the thing about this, for me, it's just dependent on what Damon tells him. If he pays them to play mind games, then so be it,
Yeah,
right? I could see him doing it.
I always interpreted the original sequence that they were told to go in there and give that choice and then kill the other one. But that's just how I interpreted it. I don't know.
Jane Theory for $5 to Cyrax stole the scene. The final cry did it for me. We also saw, you guys pointed out, we saw Rhaenyra get off a dragon, slide down the wing.
Which
in season 1, especially on Dragonstone, she's on the particularly the pathway, the walkway, they'll often show the dragon land, cut away, cut back,
Otto or Damon, and then she's walking along.
Honestly, if she was to slide off the side of it, she'd fall off the fucking.
Funny, sliding.
It's also, I'm sure, much more of a CGI issue to show.
The animation of dropping it down would be awkward to do.
Yeah, I think you can see that in this episode a little bit. The CGI at that point when she got on the beach and then came down, didn't look necessarily as good as everything we've seen previously. There's also going to be a lot of fucking dragons in CGI this season. A lot.
Well, off you go, CG artists. This is the show you get
Cannibal.
to actually show off instead of get. I hope they're not in crunch, but you know what I mean. A
Well,
lot of
2
shows.
years between seasons, you hope that that's enough time.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to see the cannibal. Maybe once. We'll see if we see the cannibal.
It's something to take. They know people love their dragons, right? Even season 1's opening was the dragon flying around. I felt like that was on purpose. Yeah. Look, we're going to get you some dragons, okay? Just let us set some things up.
Misery. This is Bergflicka for $100. Thank you very much. Misery loves company, but it's nice to share a show that is actually good entertainment. It really is. Mm-hmm. It really is.
Hell yeah.
I was kind of meant to do that on this channel. Can't help what Hollywood did. Not my fault, man. It's not my fault. Where was I? Okay. MauLer, we haven't all read the books. Can we just watch it for ourselves and not have it spoiled beforehand? Why are you giving?
What are you talking about? I haven't read them either.
I think he's fucking with you. I think he's fucking with you.
He completely triggered you.
I'm like, shit, have I been guessing things by accident? Like, what's happening?
Well, I mean, John Neeson for $9.99. Number one, the show it in the shadow behind the bed screen, or 2, show blood spatter on Helena's face, or number 3, have them give them the choice, show the panic face, cut to black before it's made. I like the third one better. Like, you can hear a sound effect right before you cut, and then maybe not even show her getting away. Just like leave it like the book. Like, hey, they left the rest alive, surprisingly enough, for dishonorable men. That maybe that worked, but they did what they did, and we will see tomorrow. But book fans are going to be pissed. There's no way around it. There's no way around it at all.
But I've seen a lot of people reacting to it on social media in our chat that are saying, "Holy shit! Like, what happened at the end was crazy. The noises that it made.
The noises were bad.
So it's like, I think
I had headphones on. So
yeah.
I'm hearing that.
No, I mean, I felt like I was like, yep, that's happening.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with them not showing it. Like I said, just the choice. But this will be the debate, when the debate could have been, holy fuck, that's how they're starting it out. Which, I mean, still is, but the book was better.
I don't think you're going to turn anybody away with it that's wanting to watch a
No.
Game of Thrones series anyway.
No, and anyone saying this was a disaster or anything, I'd be like, okay, calm down. Like, we're not at that level.
Whoa.
It's a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
For book fan, it's a missed opportunity that they could have set the world on fire with that.
They should have had lesbian witches singing for sure.
Yeah. Should have.
Ray Glendenning for 5 British pounds, proper money. I had a fantastic Father's Day with my 11-year-old daughter yesterday, and today is my birthday. Happy birthday. Happy Father's Day. Still Father's Day for 3 minutes here. Happy Father's Day and happy birthday. That's awesome. It's the best day. The Kindly Man for 5 Canadian pesos. Love the new intro. Dragons of Flame weaving dragons of thread. Blood and cheese was very disappointing, though. There you go. Gonna hear that a lot. I love it when you guys love something. I love when you get to love something, guys. Thank you very much, Carl Suburban, for $2. I can read that. It's getting late.
Well, it's nice to do that dynamic. It's a you could argue it's a proof of how the style of analysis we have, I think, is, as you should expect, applicable with criticism and with praise. It's the same tools. Digging into the details of everything and then being like, see how this fits, see how this fits, see how this justifies this, and then we get to be, happy. Like, whoa.
Base player 2011 Iffy for $4.99 says the one thing I really wanted to see was Otto and Allison's immediate reaction to Lysary's death. Outside of that, the episode was good. I think we all agreed we wanted to see that too. Maybe it's a deleted scene. Wild Warlock for 10 Australian dollars. MauLer slipping and calling Ryan Dragon Fitz, because that's what all the fast food workers yell when he enters the store. Okay.
All right.
Oh, they just say spit in that man's food immediately. Eamon as Air makes episode 4 more interesting. Don't look ahead to episode 4, guys.
Yeah, this is kind of what I'm thinking about. We let them tell their story just to see what they're up to.
Yeah.
Because I think there's going to be potential no matter what, right? And it's like, all right, well, let's see what they do.
And Apex, you're not wrong.
I do think they should stay mostly loyal to everything we've seen, though.
Yeah. Can't wait to see. Bloody Ben Blackwood show up. I can't either. It's a character, MauLer, that shows up from my favorite. Just being a nerd, my favorite.
You
house
spoiled everything.
Yep. The Blackwoods have a werewood tree that's Raven tree, so it's dead. But all the ravens at night sleep on the tree, so it looks like a full tree just full of ravens instead.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fucking
really
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
Was it a Blackwood kid in season 1 who killed that random Lord guy?
Yes. So the Blackwoods and the Brackens fucking hate each other. They're like the McCoys and the what is it? Fucking
The Spocks.
no. Clampett and the McCoys. It's like the moonshine fucking Appalachian two families that were
You should have appreciated my joke, Gary.
I did. Sorry. I was too busy having a senior moment. But they fucking hate each other. So anytime they have a chance to fight each other, and they live right next door, and they just but everybody likes the Blackwoods because they have more honor, and they're the one they're in the Riverlands, but they worship the old gods. More honorable house. They also have connections to Brendan Rivers. They have connections to Brendan Rivers and the Three-Eyed Crow. And they're just a cooler house. Bracken's kind of bitches. They're kind of bitches. But yeah, I can't wait to see Bloody Ben either. Or Black Alley. There's Black Alley with her werewood fucking bows and arrows. There you go. Give props to Egan for the dragon cock. That was epic. Says Raven Song for $1.99.
Honestly, it was weird seeing a scene where what feels like a kid that's late teens, mid 20s, just hanging out with his buddies, getting drunk.
Hatfields and McCoys. What the fuck did I say? Sorry, MauLer. Hatfields and McCoys. That's what happens when you get old. I knew that, by the way. My bad. Go on, MauLer.
But I agree though, MauLer, with the scene of him just hanging out with his buddies.
Yeah, it's very normal. It's the kind of scene that Joffrey would never have because he was fucking crazy.
Yep. Putting a crossbow through hookers.
He was a weird boy.
He was.
It's kind of fucked up. Yeah. Yep. That's what happens when you fuck your sister.
I was just gonna say, took the words right out of my mouth. I want Wins a Winner hard. My desire is for it to be out, but George would have released Wins a Winner earlier if
Jeb.
If Jeb was elected. Oh, that's a joke. Please clap.
No, it's true. If Jeb were in there, he would have written that book as fast as possible. He would have been so inspired.
Yep. It's not like he didn't have an entire year where the world was locked down and he couldn't write any scripts. And then an entire half a year where the WGA was on strike and he could have just written his fucking book. So, and then he follows up that year of COVID with, I didn't really write anything. We actually lost pages.
He had writer's block, and then he deleted a few pages.
And he deleted a few pages. So he says he's 3/4 of the way done. So do the math. Do the math. Where the hell is Darren? That's the other kid who's missing, JFA 199. He's supposed to be with the Hightowers, right, Ryan? So Darren,
yes,
he's with the
He's in Old Town. Yeah,
he's in Old Town.
If he's in Old Town in season 1, right? They've only talked about it.
Only talked about it.
Yeah, we've never seen it.
Pretty sure we'll see it. Well, it took us forever to see it in fucking Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen, there's a lot of places we haven't seen, actually. So, Castle Rock. I still can't believe Tom Hardy was Bane, says Taker 610. And he's also Venom.
That's right.
First episode of season 4, The Boys had a January 6th riot where Homelander did a psyop on libs, implied Depp was guilty. Epstein being killed is a fat right conspiracy. This fat right. It's supposed to probably say far right, but I like a fat right conspiracy better. And made fun of Wright for saying groomer.
Well, The Boys sounds exciting.
The Boys sounds fun, doesn't it?
I was talking about this in season 2, right? I thought season 1 was a solid, entertaining show that made some interesting commentaries, as well as being like a superhero parody and a comment on like big time businesses and big corporate shit. Season 2 to me it was very obvious that the people that were running the show hated you if you voted a certain way. That was clear in season 2, and I said it then, and I had no interest in really season 3 after that, where apparently it got even worse. 4 seems to have gone off the rails.
From what I gather, they've said that they're not really going to be trying with subtlety anymore. They've got season 4 and 5 to sort of finish it off, and they're going to make it clear who they're making fun of.
I think if you didn't realize it in season 2 and 3, you're probably kind of dumb because like they were I thought they were super heavy-handed with it.
Well, I hated season 2.
Season 2 sucked.
It's
that show got like really boring to me in terms of it feels like it got to coast by on. Hey, look, it makes fun of superhero shows and movies, and isn't that great? And it's like, and then it doesn't have to like try to be anything worthwhile. It just because it's satirical, it can just sort of coast by with stupid writing.
And it's ending with season 5, and the funniest thing is it's trying to like it comes off as the rebellion, and it's like, you're on Amazon, bro. You work for bot.
That's like the funny thing that like
work for
the show itself is like a commentary about these making fun of these big corporations. And
well, Fallout had the same thing, right? Of like, look at us. It's like, dude, it's Amazon.
Dude, he fucking said in the interview, he's like, the irony is not lost on us. It's like, clearly it is. What do you mean?
On you because you're Fallout.
That's the only reason the rich folk in Hollywood and the elitists try to side with the quote unquote people is so you won't burn down their mansion. You won't come down and burn down their mansion. They're like, hey, we're on your side. Remember how well that worked during the Summer of Love? Not well. Fagon, Jeremy is in it? Asked Buddy Rabbit. Yes. No, who are the rednecks of Westeros? By the way, I love rednecks. Okay, I come from a long line of rednecks, so and white trash. But who are the? Is it the phrase?
Phrase? Yeah, you could say the phrase.
Yeah.
Westeros.
Yes. People really want to say Jeremy is gay. What did Jeremy do today to get all this ire?
Fucked a dude in the butt, sounds like.
He did that on stream again?
Yeah. Based on all the commentary. Yeah.
Better be careful, you get banned.
No, you can't get banned in June.
That was solid delivery, dude. Well done. Brian Townsend for $10. As someone with a young son, I loved how the heir kept wanting to play with the ball in the small council scene. I thought that was, and then Aegon laughing at it. Like, again, that brings a humanity to this horrible king.
This is the thing that I actually thought was a really good choice, because I was getting flashbacks to Joffrey where he just uses everybody in the small council as toys. He's messing around and he humiliates people. Obviously did it to Tyrion season 3. And I was expecting a mirror, and then you have the, can we please like deal with the important stuff? And Aegon was like, okay. I was like, oh, all right. All right, yeah. Though Tyland being like, yes, I will become a steed.
That would have been funny to watch.
Well, it's also interesting, right? Because I think they'd have to know that Tyland Lannister is going to somewhat evoke to an audience like, I remember the Lannisters, and he's like the clown of the sort of, so it's interesting to think about, isn't it, that the Lannisters will eventually be able to worm their way into much more power.
Yeah. Well, and the story of, Tywin is like he felt like his father turned their house into a fucking joke.
Yeah,
he
Titos,
really
right?
resented how weak his father was with some of this shit, and like he kind of vowed to never be that way, and he wanted to make them respected like they once were, like how they had been in times before.
I love that story of how the Cleganes ended up the Lannisters' sort of like secondary bonus family of like protecting Titos from a lion, right? It's like the most embarrassing things that could happen to a Lannister.
Yeah, yeah. 100%.
It's so much symbology there. And it's funny too, the idea that the humiliating Lannister was called Titos. That sounds like such a strong name. It's like, and he was shit. But I mean, Tywin's a pretty solid name as well.
It is. And there's still a mystery Lannister possibly out there, right? Uncle.
Yeah.
So in the books,
in the actual books, yeah.
I feel like Tywin's history, the way it's described as what happened, what's interesting about, you could probably make a show about that.
You could,
certainly with the Mad King, of course.
With the absolutely. Especially what led up to him and Aries like relationship, because they were tight.
I just want to see the Mad King fucking Tywin's wife.
Yeah, well, there's that.
Mm-hmm.
There's that.
You could do a House of the Dragon style thing of going through all of the intervening years until it gets up to the
House of the Lion.
I guess so. I mean, call it whatever you want, right? But like, Robert's Rebellion would then be the sort of end point, because that takes you to Game of Thrones. Then
there's a lot of story there. You could at least, yes, you could do like a couple seasons on that.
I mean, I would much
rather just get a straight up Robert's Rebellion show.
Robert's Rebellion, which I think we could get. You know, we don't need
guaranteed to be good. I'm more than happy for them to do that in their 5th season of a show that sets all of it up.
You know what's the last show I want? Fucking 10,000 Ships. Fucking A, they're going ahead with this. It's so the Royan and fucking.
There's not a pilot for that or anything, is there?
No, but they're like moving ahead with it, and I fucking hate it. Like, that's dumb.
I don't give a fuck about those 10,000 ships.
Yeah, I could care less about fucking Dorne and how it was founded and the Rhinar and all that shit. I could care less. Bryant Townsend. Oh, to finish this, what? So fucking accurate. Hail FNT, Ryan EFAP in the chat. Hail to you, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, they're making those like council balls like more prevalent in this
season,
it feels like.
I don't know why they did that, but
that's a new addition. Obviously.
It just means court's in session. That's all, you know. Taker 610.
It's kind of funny. Tyler being like, "Stop! It's my ball.
Leave my ball alone."
Hey, he's gonna be the only one happy that little fuck got his head cut off. Like, he kept messing with me in the council chamber.
He messed with my ball. Like, I can't have that.
Taker 610 for $5. What did Will Smith say when he saw the witch headquarters burning through his binoculars? That's hot. That's hot.
It's a YouTube Rewind reference, that one. That's hot. Yeah, that's classic. That wasn't one of the last YouTube Rewinds.
Well, I don't think it was that long ago, was it?
Wasn't that the most disliked video in the history?
That's why I'm saying it's classic. It's a classic meme. That's
I think that was the most disliked YouTube video. Yeah.
I love that YouTube Rewind got shamed out of existence.
That is so good.
Doing it because they were just like, it's too embarrassing. Stop.
We used to do to children at school.
It just proves that there still is a little bit of justice and order in the world. You know, that's a little bit.
Probably why they got rid of the dislike.
Roblox, that in the White House. Roblox head Leslie Headland for $2. House of Kinnell versus House of Blacks. Who would win?
How many dragons you got, Ryan?
That's a charged question. But obviously me.
Yeah. Ryan's rooting for the Blacks, and so am I.
I feel like most people will be.
Yeah.
I think it's like 70-30. A lot of the polls that I've seen, whether on Twitter or YouTube channels or whatever.
The reason you vote for the Greens right now is going to be the cool factor / the power of some of the things the problem is it's harder to get behind them as characters right now. That could change, of course. We'll see. They probably, if they really want to play up the Blacks versus the Greens, they kind of need to balance them out a little bit more. Obviously, this will help what's happened with the blood and cheese thing.
I think so.
Yeah.
And Olivia Cooks. They're trying to show Alicent as a somewhat sympathetic figure. Well, I feel like they did a decent job of that through some of what we saw in the first season.
Yeah, I mean, as of what we've gotten in season 2, I don't know that Alicent's gone up in people's estimation.
No, like the one thing that I liked is obviously her being her like what she said for Lucerys to me was like touching during his funeral. But yeah, her fucking Kristen Cole is probably not gonna. Well, it might help for some people, but probably not gonna help in the long run of people feeling like she's the only one doing the right thing here.
Yeah.
But like obviously, even though she's the reason that Lara Strong ended up doing what he did and killing his father and killing his brother, it's clear that that's not what she wanted, and she was horrified by it.
Yep.
And it's kind of just stuck to react to what happened.
Hayden 75 for $20. I haven't seen this episode or the last one. What's up, Hayden? By the way, it's good seeing you last week. of season 1. I'm going to catch up, but with as expensive as CGI is, wouldn't it be cheaper to use practical effects in some cases with the small CG edit? I'm having this thought a lot. It is, except for dragons. Like they pull that off pretty well.
Dragons, like,
but they use a lot of they use real sets. That's their.
They do a lot of real stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Has there ever been a shot where someone's got a hand on a dragon and it is physical, just for the shot of them touching a dragon?
Some stuff. Like it's rare though.
I think it's rare. Yeah.
Yeah. Most of it is just a big green blob.
Yeah.
Tennis ball.
It's just. What would the worth be to build like a massive fucking practical dragon that you can't even use while it's moving, that you could only sit there and lay a hand on? Like, you know, I think they do practical when they can, but there's a lot of stuff they just have to do CGI for.
Cameron Marlowe for $4.99. Good so far. Amazing what happens when writers don't put a chick in something that's lame or gay. Also, check out Louder Milk for a great story and comedy. All right. Hail. Jacob Gibson for $4.99. Have they said how many seasons they're going to go with this show? 4. Just saying to space out major events for when they will happen. If they go 4, the last 2 seasons will be stacked. I can say that.
Do they is the intention to release season 3 next year with how fast they're filming already?
Yes.
Is there probably, I don't know if they're going to get to it by this same time next year.
No, it won't be 12 months. It'll be like 16.
I would expect winter next year at the earliest, because they're going to start filming later this year.
Yep.
For season 3.
They started writing immediately, they said. And that's why they cut out.
I mean, honestly, it would be kind of cool if they did film 3 and 4 together and they worked really hard on making it cohesive, and then, you know, sort of, I miss the days of considering making a lot of it together. One of the things I noticed, and this is not a criticism, it's okay, but Jake was noticeably older. I was like, because I just finished rewatching season 1, and I was like, oh wow, he's grown. And it's like, yeah, inevitable with the gaps. Yeah. So if we did them all in a row, kind of Lord of the Rings style, it'd be pretty cool. But I understand budget limits and even actor limits, right? Schedules.
Get ready for Stranger Things season 5.
Where everybody's like ancient. They're all like old.
Yeah. No, that's why they cut it to 8 episodes a season, so they can do these things faster. And Ryan and I talked about, there's a MauLer. I don't think I'm spoiling anything by saying there's a battle.
What?
There's a battle. And well, there's multiple battles, but there's one particular battle Ryan and I were kind of wondering if it's going to be in season 1 or not. It's kind of looking like it is to me. I could be wrong.
I think it's going to be in that next season.
You might be right. Arnold Squasha N-word for $14.99. Feminine. Now this looks like a job for Dave. So everybody just be dumb and brave, because we need a little trans Jedi gaze. It feels non-straight white male now these days. And you missed your calling, Arnold.
Supposed to be like feminine.
Now
this looks like a job for Dave. So everybody just be dumb and brave, because we need a little trans Jedi gaze. It feels non-straight white male now these days. Na 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 na.
I know that song.
Na, 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 na.
It's on the Suicide Squad soundtrack. Did you know that?
Oh yeah, I guess it would be.
Not a big, huge Eminem fan. I'm not a fan at all, to be honest with you. Like at all. Matthew Hammond, I hate it when you guys love things. So do a lot of people.
People have serious trouble with us liking stuff sometimes. They have to rationalize it because like, you guys hate everything, so there must be some nefarious reason you're praising the thing.
Keep Drinker out of our Godzilla fandom. That was great. That was my favorite.
Get Drinker away from her is what they said about Furiosa.
Yep. Oh God. A great job on Pierre's show. Esther for FNT. Lean back, have a snack, take a nap. Hell yeah, Esther's fucking based. She's great. She just like straight up went for the throat on the whole Kevin Spacey thing and just went fucking Epstein. So that was an interesting. I had 3 hours sleep. So I'm glad I just got through it because I was up till 5 a.m. doing an Acolyte video. Adler BW for $4.99. Thanks for watching it, though. I love being on Piers. He's awesome. Question for MauLer and or Fringy. Any interest in reading Fire and Blood after seeing how the show ends?
For me, the format to tell this story seems far more investing to me as a TV show than as an accounting from Maesters in a book. Not to discredit or I don't know, just to say that that's not going to be a fun experience. More than likely would, but I'd love to have the first time exploring this story through the TV show medium. So once it's all done and said and done, I wouldn't mind, like, maybe reading it then or getting you guys to sort of explain just the major changes.
Yeah, I agree. Afterward, I'd be interested in reading it, not right now.
MauLer can't read.
No,
I definitely can't read. I have FOMO for not watching things you like, says Matthew Hammond for $2. What's up, Matt? It's great seeing you last week. D's Weebos for $1.99. Is Jon Snow the prince that was promised? Maybe part of the prophecy. Maybe. He's definitely the son of Rhaegar Targaryen, though.
He's the prince that was promised.
Yeah, he is.
Just doesn't necessarily mean that it just doesn't necessarily mean that we think things will end the way we think they'll end because he's the prince that was promised.
I'll have you know, Arya Stark is the prince that was promised.
Remember when
she's not from the line of she's not from Aerys' line. That's why.
Yeah, well, she's not. Doesn't matter because they didn't want to be predictable. Remember, Ryan? They're like,
it would be boring.
It would be boring if we set up Jon. So we're just gonna have the girl that killed all of the phrase that dispensed all of the fucking justice, and to get away with that, and killed Littlefinger. So the girl who killed Littlefinger and all the phrase gets the big kill, and they're like, "Well, it's supposed to be unexpected." It's like, oh Jesus fucking Christ,
that was tough as well. Every character death post like season, I want to say, just mostly season 4 is just
House of the Griggs versus House of the I can't even read that. Who would win? Not Griggs. Okay. So I think Robert's Rebellion should be a trilogy instead of the show. A False Spring, The Fury, The Trident. Ooh, that'd be good. I think 3 seasons of a show will be really fucking good.
Oh, yeah, I don't know why it's got plenty of room to work as a show, I think.
I know we saw the Tower of Joy in the vision, but I'd rather see like a real fucking Tower of Joy, not the
they can do it again.
Last one we got. Yeah.
Bro, I would love to see because the tourney's at Harrenhal, right?
Yes.
I would love to see Rhaegar, like this young prince, this young dragon who just so many fucking people love. He's got all this charisma and all this shit. I would love to see Rhaegar just like stroll into that fucking tourney and basically own the place and set off all of these different events. I would just really like to see that. See a young Ned, see a young Robert.
That's what I'm saying.
Great.
It's a whole story that could definitely work for a long TV show. Just do it right.
You get all the Stark brothers together. You get all the Starks, the young Starks together.
You get Benjen.
You got the mystery night. You got like all kinds of cool shit happening in that tournament.
A lot of shit went down at that tournament.
Yep. This is the last one of the night. Pit Bucks 21 for $19.99 first super chat. Am I gonna hit the right button? Nope. There it goes. I'm on the road. Long man, you are wise. Gary, love what you do. Ryan, pretty sure we are the right amount of racist and fringy. Your takes as well. Love your takes as well. Man, I love when Ryan gets complimented. He's like, you're the right kind of racist, man.
Thanks.
Hey, that wraps it up for tonight. We went way longer than we were supposed to. Sorry, guys. You guys can, anybody, just speak up if you need to go, by the way.
Have you actually done all of them? I think there's 2 more in there.
I've actually done all of them. Is there 2? Oh, there is. Hang on. 2 Assassins movies. Playing Assassin's Creed 2 right now, says Limp Wang. For what are you doing up so late? Get to bed. Don't you have to work tomorrow? Thanks for the $1.99. Deeds, Minnesota. Any release date for your book, Gary? Later this year. Thanks for asking. We are in the home stretch of writing it, so I have to proofread it and everything. but later this year, holidays, it will be released. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll be back next Sunday. I will be home, and I got a show I'm looking forward to. I'm very excited. Ryan, what do you got coming up?
Not much other than hanging out with these guys a little bit after the release of the next Acolyte episode for EFAP movies. So yeah, episode 4. It show's half over almost. Thank God.
One of them was a flashback.
Yeah.
It didn't add anything.
And there'll be another one.
There's gonna be another one. I was just joking when I predicted that there would be episode 6 would be a flashback from May's perspective, but
you're 100% right.
I think you're totally right on
if
that.
They spend a full fucking episode telling us mostly things we already know again, like, my God.
What are you gonna do? Stop watching?
It's like, no. Who are you, Disney? Like,
we're committed at this point. Is Drinker really gonna stop, MauLer?
Well, with I think there are shows that he wouldn't watch that are part of Star Wars. It depends. You know, if they had an equivalent of like Echo, I think he would only watch like 2 episodes of that.
Yeah, but he's gonna stop watching Acolyte.
Oh,
stop watching Acolyte.
I actually don't know.
Like, I'm done or something.
Yeah, his last video says I'm done. But I mean, you can still be done.
Who knows? You know, you can recharge your batteries. That's what I said the doctors recommend. Don't watch too much Acolyte in a row, and you can be exposed to more of it. It's like radiation.
Even if he thinks he's done, no one's ever really gone.
No one's ever really gone. Fringy, what do you got coming up? Anything?
Oh, well, I mean, I guess it's the same thing as working on Acolyte. That's the main thing right now. And then the EFAP TVs for Halo will be coming out at some point as well. And then, you know, just working away, editing Dungeon, the usual.
We know about that. Well, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, anytime. And MauLer.
We're gonna do, I don't even know, I guess, next EFAB will probably be the mid-season sort of breakdown of Acolyte, I suppose. We'll try and bring on some people who we haven't spoken to about it, and then in intervening times you'll get your EFAB TVs, and we'll figure out Halo as a release, and A Knight's Tale EFAP movies is on the way. So plenty of fun to be had.
Excellent. Silly boy with a stick.
Yep. Real BBC, Acolyte video, coming home. That's pretty much my plan for the rest of the week. I'm never driving out here again. I'm going to get in a plane and fly. East Coast has lame speed limits, like really oppressively lame speed limits. And Atlanta's like Los Angeles. Driving through Atlanta is a nightmare. So never doing that again. Thanks a lot. But I like North Carolina though. It's cool. Cool state.
Not bad.
It's not bad. I'm in Greensboro right now, but I'll be back home to Sweet Home, Texas soon. And we'll be back next week with another episode of Hot D, which X-Ray Girl accidentally called Hot Dog in our. So now it's called Hot Dog Forever in our Discord. So, in Game of Thrones, Ned was ready to start a crusade when Arya was brought to the king.
You're talking about episode 2?
Yeah, he's talking about when Arya and the boy get in trouble for what happened with Joffrey and Sansa. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. He's expecting an explanation, right, from Robert.
Yeah.
It felt like the scene that echoes that is I want to say 6th episode of House of Dragon season 1.
With Lucerys and Aemon.
Yeah. Obviously, the nature of the wound is more significant, but it's it felt like there's a lot of just echoes in this story for Game of Thrones.
That is how George writes pretty much everything. But yeah, there's a lot of similarities between all these characters. History repeats itself. War is bad. The small folk get fucked. And if you're a good person in this world, you'll probably die.
You'll probably die. And there's a lot of
if you're a bad person in the world, you'll probably die too, but just slower.
Sorry, you'll get away with a lot more, but you'll probably die just as bad though. And a lot of tomboys. So there we go. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, gentlemen, for joining me this long. Thanks to everyone who left his super chat and donation. Thanks to the Nerdrotics. Thanks to everyone who hung out and is a lurker. We'll see you next week. Ciao.
Bye. See you, everybody.